welcome to or welcome back to the Funfiltered podcast. I am Sam, and I am joined as unconscionably ever by Jordan.
Hello! Hello? Hello?
Get on with it!
Oh, right, sorry. Coming up,
We speed through the Flash.
we narrativize the experience of the narrative of Asteroid City.
We accept the mission of reviewing Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
And now we become reviewers of Oppenheimer.
And we, Barbie. Right, we've got a lot to cover. Not many items, but a lot to cover.
Right.
Let's just jump straight into it with The Flash. We're catching up, as
We
usual.
are certainly
okay?
catching up.
I think they're
starting with the Flash to
get us going.
Yeah, to fast
us.
it's fastest. Is this the because we've done the coming up, so they already know what films we're going to be reviewing.
I think we've discounted, just by the way, about 10 or 15 things.
Oh
like
yeah,
in the last,
yeah.
Watch things, no, but we'll at the end of year we'll catch you up on everything that you missed.
Oh yeah, no, I think that like Barbie and Oppenheimer was supposed to be like 4 episodes after Rise of the Beasts or whatever.
Yes, but they were very much stalwarts. Like whatever happens,
yeah,
Barbie and Oppenheimer are getting reviewed. Not so much Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
No. Which was one of them actually.
That was a possibility, but it was never like, oh, whatever happens, we will review Indiana Jones.
No.
We watched it and decided that we weren't going to review Indiana Jones. So The Flash, you were going to say?
Well, I was going to ask: is this the this collection of movies that we're reviewing? Is this like the longest collective running time of all? Because there's some long films in here.
Maybe that's happening a lot more. I'm noticing
They're getting a lot longer.
They're getting longer. Yeah, is it maybe because to justify going to the cinema now it has to be an event, and so we make like an epic film? Is that part of it?
So you're just gonna like inconvenience me further, take more of my time off me.
It's completely alienating because it doesn't make me want to go to the cinema to sit down for 3 hours.
For a film that's not going to finish as well in some cases.
In some cases, yeah. Anyway, let's jump into The Flash.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you remember The Flash?
Not really.
Okay.
It's a few months ago now that we watched these films.
Yeah, not only did we watch it a while ago, it's The Flash. Like,
yeah, who cares?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you recall the plot at all?
Okay. Oh, do I? Barry Allen, The Flash, superhero, Justice League. Father's in prison.
Yeah.
Killing the mother.
Yes.
Which he didn't do.
No.
But the world says he did.
Yes.
The Flash is he like a criminal student or something? Where he's like trying to like get a degree that will like help him prove his father's innocence or something like that.
Yeah, like a law degree or something. I don't know.
Or he's like interning at like a forensics lab.
Yeah,
or something.
that sounds right.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, he's like reconstructing the evidence from the crimes or like from the shop.
Right. Okay.
To prove that his father wasn't there when the murder happened or something like that.
Is he doing that? Off work? Is he moonlighting doing that? Because,
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Because that's a conflict of interest. They wouldn't let.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When for your first case,
yeah,
prove your father's innocence. Yeah. So there's that. That's like the traditional like human setup to make us care about him apparently. And then Batman is like, oh, a hospital's exploding.
Yes.
So he runs to Gotham.
Yeah.
Hangs out with saves people with Batman and Wonder Woman. Then he gets sad. So he runs into an alternate past.
I can't remember. He goes back to try and stop his mum dying, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the idea?
He just decides to do that one day.
Yeah, he's going to stop his mum.
Goes back and
doesn't he realise
history.
like, oh, if she doesn't die, obviously he doesn't go to jail. I don't know, some shit like that.
Yeah. Somehow him saving his mother stops all superheroes ever from existing.
I don't remember that bit. But okay.
Well, yeah, because the Justice League, they don't exist anymore, right?
No. All right, he goes back in time and he meets an alternate version of himself. That's the crux of it.
Yes, it's like it's not quite a multiverse film, but it's like
a duo-verse film, a dual-verse.
Yeah, like worlds colliding kind of thing. Because you've got Ezra Miller from the initial timeline. You've got Ezra Miller from this kind of like alternate new timeline that he's created. You've got Supergirl, played by a person who I don't know if she's played Supergirl before. She might have like in a TV show or something.
Her first.
Oh, it is her first.
I think so.
And then most famously, or like disgustingly,
yeah,
you've got Michael Keaton as Batman.
Yes. Another one of those, all the worlds are connected. All the Batman, all the Spider-Man, all the alls. Okay.
If indeed it is the same Michael Keaton.
Well, yeah, it is, isn't it? Let's not split hairs.
Well, yeah.
I mean, depending on how you view the multiverse, there are infinite Michael Keaton Batman as well.
Well,
as
because that's the thing. He hasn't run into another universe. He's run back into his own past, but he's created another version of it.
Yeah. Look, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So I actually quite like the baby shower idea. So when the hospital's attacked and all the babies fall out.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, when he like microwaves the baby.
And he has to, keep saving them. I like that. But then he calls it out. He calls it a baby shower.
Oh, right.
Like, I tittered when I watched it and thought, a baby shower.
Right.
But then he said it and it completely deflated that.
Gag reflex.
It's
always the same in these films.
The CG is shoddy.
Is this the worst CG ever for like a $200+ million film?
It's definitely up there. I mean, Ant-Man and the Wasp, I don't know what the budget was, but that's up there as well.
Oh, no, this is worse.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
Quantumania. No, this is worse than Quantumania.
Yes, it is. And not just... I mean, when you go into like the parallel timelines and it's showing, Cesar Romero's Joker and, all that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay, fine. If it's shonky, then whatever. But like the babies... Obviously, they're CGI babies.
Yeah.
And they look like the crib dead train spotting kid when it's crawling on the ceiling.
Yeah.
It was very unsettling.
There's I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but I believe it was the director was confronted about this CGI. Because it's known, like, at this point in the industry, obviously actors are striking, writers are striking, but the VFX industry is also like under heavy strain.
Yeah.
Because of all of these massive superhero films. They could be like something ridiculous like, 7, 10, 20 different VFX houses working on just one of these films at any one time.
Yeah.
They're overworked, they're underpaid, and so the quality is diminishing rapidly. Even though they're putting more money into this and the technology's getting better. But yeah, the director was confronted about this. It was like, so the CG, the whole thing looks like it's made of plastic. What the fuck? And the response they gave was something along the lines of, oh yeah, that was deliberate.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's supposed to kind of mirror what the Flash sees.
Right.
It's like we're seeing the film through the Flash's perspective, so that's why everything's got this kind of like liquidy, false quality to it.
Right.
Which is total bullshit.
It is total bullshit, because that's not clear.
No.
If it was like, oh, it looks like that because of that, then that's one thing. But you don't get that sense.
No, the film never... Considering how like quick the film is to draw your attention to things which it clearly wants you to know, like baby shower and like certain plot points and things like that, it never once draws attention to this kind of liquid plastic look the whole film has.
Well, the only potential exception is so that the interdimensional plane, I'm sure it's deliberate that it's very video gamey in its graphics.
Okay.
But it's nevertheless shit.
Yes.
But I'm sure there was some self-conscious design in that. Otherwise, no.
Oh, I'm sure someone said to the director, please, I'm begging you. This isn't possible.
Yes, let's do a cutscene.
Let's compromise somewhere, please. But that's the thing, like, if you were going to do that, if you were, like, designing this from the start with the kind of idea that, like, right, it's going to be very CG heavy, how do we kind of deal with that? Yeah. Well, what if we do kind of integrate this idea of, like, the whole thing is kind of through the Flash's perspective. There are things you can do there.
Yeah.
That can make it work. You could do like you could do what Spider-Verse has done, where like you could have, because the whole thing is shot on a green screen anyway. So you're gonna have a separate plate of the Flash in pretty much every scene, especially since he's got a body double in nearly every scene that he's in. So he's never in the scene he's never physically there.
Yeah.
So you've got clean slates. Have the Flash moving at like 60 FPS and everyone else moving at the traditional 24 FPS. So he just kind of looks smoother and quicker and just like out of rhythm with everything.
Yeah. Well, like what they did with Quicksilver, in Days of Future Past. There are ways of doing it. It doesn't have to be like, it can just be basic. I mean, we've seen this thing done in films for years where basically just everything is still while they walk around normally. That'll do. Yeah,
I do think that Hollywood in general just has they still haven't really figured out how to do speed properly.
No, but I'm fine with that. I'm fine with, everyone's either moving incredibly in slow motion.
Yeah.
I get it. I don't need it to kind of look... Maybe someday a film will come along where they nail it and you go, oh, right, okay, that's what we were missing.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with, like, you know, the burger is slowly falling to the ground and the hero just walking around normally, picks it up and eats it. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, that's probably the best we've got at the moment. I don't like this whole nonsense about, like, at the beginning of the film, when it shows Flash running from wherever city he lives to Gotham.
Yeah.
And he, like, takes off and he's just running in a straight line.
Yes.
No. There isn't a road in the world that connects two cities that would require someone who's running that quickly to basically make no corrections whatsoever.
It just doesn't make sense, really. I mean, if you're running that fast, obviously the idea is for him it's...
He's in the middle of the road as well, mind you.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So there's no traffic is colliding with
him. For him, it's slow.
Yeah.
So, to him, when he's running, is it slow?
Yeah.
Like, does it actually... It takes him fucking ages to get somewhere, but to us, it's quick. Or does he get there quickly to him? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because when you see this in slow-mo and he's, like, avoiding things and... It must take you forever then. Yeah. You're just running like anybody else. It just happens that the rest of us are stopping. Yeah. He'd be knackered all the time, constantly. I think they try and flirt with that a little bit.
There's this new idea they introduced at the beginning of the film that he, like, I think in previous films he says that he metabolizes really quickly. Yeah. So he's got a little gauge that keeps track of, like, how much energy he's got. Yeah. And he's about to run out. Yeah. Like, when he's saving the babies, he like has to cook a burrito because he's like so tired. Yeah. And his speed is like disappearing, which is good. It's like, okay, we're adding some sort of, like, something we can keep track of as well as the audience. But then they just... I don't think that ever comes back again.
But you can also just, like, write that off. Like, I like things to be thoroughly thought through. But some things you can just write off as, okay, he moves really quickly. Yeah. He's running really quickly. But his perception does not match his speed. So he is perceiving it as though he's travelling at a normal rate of speed. So he can stop if he needs to. But he is actually moving really fucking quickly. You know what I mean? Like, that'll do. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's
so he can zigzag like that through cars because he's just... his brain is perceiving it slower than his body is faster than it, whatever.
Well, that was another thing that I kind of wrote down in terms of the sort of like making the film look like something the Flash would see. Yeah. I mentioned the frame rate thing, but another thing as well is I think I can't remember what program I saw, but it was like a wildlife program a while ago. They were sort of like explaining the differences between the eyes and the brain, like the connection between the eyes and the brain in different animals. Mm-hmm. Like as humans, we've got an incredibly detailed vision, but as a result, our reflexes are a lot slower than other animals. Whereas you've got something like a fly, for example, which has wickedly fast reflexes, but the world to them is almost a blur. Yes, because they have to give up detail to be able to process information far more quickly. Yeah. So maybe that's something you could have done. That, like, the Flash he has immensely fast reflexes because he perceives the world so quickly. Yeah, but to him everything is a blur. Right. Like, he's saving people's lives, but he can't, like, their faces...
can't even see them. Yeah.
He can't even see them. Which might be why he's like this wisecracking guy, because it's disguising the fact that he's, like, miserable as hell.
Well, he's disconnected, or he doesn't really have to think about the people because he doesn't see them. Yeah. So it's like he can keep a distance from them. He can maintain a distance from them.
It would also, like, explain... I mean, not that if you meet another person with superpowers, like, you'd automatically be drawn to them. Mm-hmm. But he would make such a strong connection with these superhumans that are able to move at the same speed as him.
Well, no one can move at the same speed as him.
Superman's probably close.
Close. Right? I suppose just more... It would be more along the lines of their powers come with sacrifice. Yeah, a different type of sacrifice, but and it keeps they're alienated from people and they find it hard to something like that.
But all we get is shit CGI. That's all we get out of it.
There's more Whedonianism. Oh, Whedon, like more of that tone. Yeah. Quote: "My ego is far too big to say thank you to someone else. I developed this all-powerful persona to compensate for my childhood trauma." Ugh. It's like, is this Lego Batman? You know what I mean? It's that kind of tone.
Even so, I feel like it's getting to the point now where modern Whedonisms are unfair on Joss Whedon. Because I don't feel like...
It's not his fault, but he got the ball rolling.
No, but not even that. I feel... I haven't seen Buffy the Vampire... Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's probably like the big Joss Whedon thing, right?
Yes.
I don't feel like the dialogue in that show was that on the nose. Like, it was corny.
It can be.
But I don't feel like it was just, the characters were just like, I am character A, this is what I think in this moment.
Not really. Like, sometimes. Well, I mean, it's better. It's better than all the things that it's generated and influenced.
Yeah.
Like the Whedon thing, he's the best at doing it.
I mean, you said yourself, like, you went back to the Avengers recently.
Yeah.
And the dialogue in that is actually, like, fairly well constructed.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
But he set that tone, you know? And so now we have him to thank for it.
Right.
So it's not even Lego Batman, because Batman isn't funny in this film.
No.
I hate self-aware dialogue,
Yeah.
which we'll come back to, I'm sure. And humour like that. It happens a few times in the film. And, like, naturally, it's the most recurring staple of postmodernism because it's its apotheosis, pointing out and commenting on metaphors. That happens loads of times in the film.
Yeah.
Where a metaphor, someone will, you know, and then they'll go, oh, that's a flawed metaphor because X, Y, Z. It really bugs me. Because it's kind of, it's faux intellectual. But it's the easiest thing in the world to do. Just come up with I could write you a shitty metaphor right now.
Yeah.
And then just have another character go, that's not logically consistent because it's not intelligent. It's shit, is what it is.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, yeah.
Ezra Miller has really become fucking annoying. Do you agree?
Right. I started watching The Flash knowing that Ezra Miller was out there in the world.
Yeah.
Hitting women and...
Well, forget all that.
Fucking
Ignore all that.
Being Jesus or whatever he's doing now. Talking to aliens. What's he up to? He's just like all this mad shit.
There's a cult thing going on. Yeah.
And Warner Brothers just, like, they just haven't acknowledged it.
No.
Which is baffling to me. Because, like, you at least want to... Like, they've mishandled the Amber Heard thing too, but at least they were, like, responding to that.
Yeah.
Even when they were standing up for her, when they were like, oh, but she's actually kind of important, we can't get rid of her. People were like, well, I won't go see it then. They were still, like, engaging in that situation. They just haven't touched the Ezra Miller thing. Which I'm baffled by.
I think, it's just more buried. Like, the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, everyone knew about that. Like, I don't think... Like, my mother wouldn't even know who Ezra Miller is.
Yeah.
It's kind of a more inside baseball story.
Yeah.
I agree that they're conspicuous in their silence.
Yeah.
But, like, that stuff... Okay, yeah, it's unethical or whatever. I don't give a shit about that, frankly, if he's good in the film. You know what I mean? Like, I could still watch American Beauty and love it.
Yeah.
That stuff, like... But... He's just annoying in the film. He's annoying.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say, yeah. So I came into the film with that baggage. I started watching it. I didn't hate it when I started watching it.
The film?
Yeah.
Well, same.
Like, I started watching, I was like, this is... I am perfectly fine sitting here while this happens in front of me.
Yes.
It didn't feel that with Ant-Man, didn't feel that with Shazam.
Yeah.
Don't even know what other superhero films I've seen this year.
Doctor Strange, was that this year? Or was that last year? It was last year.
Yes, it may as well have been this year.
Yeah,
but that was last year. But this one was like, yeah, I'm fine with this. But at the end of the film, I found it disgusting.
Disgusting.
Okay. I was generally like, oh, this is just an awful... This is just everything wrong with everything at the moment, really. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a point in the film where I realised, oh, I fucking hate Ezra Miller in this.
What was the point? Can you remember?
It was one of those things where, like, I realised that something had changed at some point.
Right, okay.
Because I was looking at him and I was like...
Scowling and frothing at the mouth.
Yeah, I don't like you.
Yeah.
I think it was certainly after the second Ezra Miller, the deliberately annoying Ezra Miller shows up.
Yeah. Yeah, he's meant to be the deliberately annoying one.
Yeah, the one that even the current Ezra Miller is like, wow, he's really annoying.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, he is, isn't he?
Well,
we still put him in the fucking film.
Because he's so annoying... Resultantly, not entirely because of him, but the film is emotionally weightless because I don't care.
Yeah.
And plus, the Flash, to me, just isn't an interesting character.
Yeah.
There's not enough going for him to make him interesting.
No.
Batman is instantly interesting. The Flash isn't.
No.
Superman has to be made a little interesting because naturally he's not. He's quite dull. But the Flash, to me, is just, he goes quickly, right?
It also feels like just a strange character to hang a story like this off of.
Well, okay.
This kind of like universe shifting, timeline redefining storyline.
We'll kind of come back to that.
Yeah.
I've got a note here, and it's been so long, I don't know what it means. Okay? It says, when he says, I love you, Mom, in the store, what does that look like to her? Oh, I think what that means is he goes back in time, sees her, and everything's slowed down, and he says to her, "I love you, Mom," and like to her perception of being going. Do you know? I just wonder, like, what's that actually look like?
She probably wouldn't even see him, like, depending on how fast he's supposed to be going.
I can't fully remember the scene, but I think that's what I meant by it.
Okay,
because he says it to her, like in front of her. But
it's just this guy, the guy that you've never seen before, just
that's leaves. Yeah, it's not as ugly as Zack Snyder joints.
No,
conceptually, it's not a write-off. If it wasn't Ezra Miller, if the graphics were decent, if there was none of that stupid humor, there might be something there. Because, I didn't hate it either. Okay, which film do you highlight in the MCU as a good interaction of elements? Was it Homecoming?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Using the universe that they've established.
I think, also, funnily enough, starring Michael Keaton.
Indeed. I think making a Justice League film without Superman or Batman as the leads wouldn't be allowed. But that's what this should have been, to me. This should have been a Justice League film. It's that adventure in that issue of the comic. You know what I mean? It's that Justice League story.
Yeah.
I know they're going for that in the grand scheme of things. Well, they've reset now, but still.
Well, yeah, that's one of the frustrating things about it, is this was probably supposed to be a big deal in the universe that it's now, like, bookmarked the end of.
Yeah, and so I know the idea was that this is just an installment. It's not Endgame, it's not the be-all, end-all. But the fact that it's just The Flash, the movie is just The Flash.
Yeah.
I also understand that implicit within that suggestion is that it's inessential. You know what I mean? And it is. But the film isn't an atrocity. You know what's going on. You see what's going on.
Yeah.
It's takeable. You just don't care. I think. But I think this really would have worked as a Justice League film. Like, where you can have The Flash as your lead in one of your Justice League films.
Yeah.
In another one, you can have Wonder Woman as your lead. Whatever suits that story.
Well, it would be good to do that because it sort of, like, justifies the team.
Yeah.
Really, doesn't it? Because if you just got, like, Superman on your team, it's like, well, do we need the rest of the team?
That's the problem with Superman. He's too powerful.
Yeah. And Batman, just for popularity's sake, it's like, well, we want to see what Batman's contribution to this whole thing.
Batman is just the most interesting, is the thing.
Yeah.
You know? I did not even begin to try to understand the time travel.
No.
It didn't earn that minimal brain power from me.
Right.
But what's on its way to a cliche is the idea that there are canon elements across the multiverse.
Yeah, that's Spider-Verse had that as well, didn't they? Yeah.
Which has been and is going to be used to justify adherence to law.
Yeah.
But they're all doing that now. The idea that, like, it's this postmodernism and it's stepped outside that, even where it's kind of going...
The idea of a story is imprinted on reality itself.
The totality of everything that's ever existed with these people.
Yeah.
It's all fair game now.
Yeah.
You like that version? Well, good, because it's part of this universe too.
Yeah.
It's, like, inclusive, uber inclusive.
Well, this is not a new concept to me, and it shouldn't be a new concept to you because you've now seen Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But Doctor Who had this as well, where it's like fixed points in time.
Yes.
Where it was just like the show's way of kind of protecting itself from itself.
Well done with that.
Yeah. Where it's like, right, here's an important event or point in the Doctor's life, or just in the story of the universe.
Yeah.
We can't touch it.
Right.
But of course, Doctor Who being the type of show it is, its first instinct is to go, I'm going to touch it.
Yeah, it's the Jimmy McGill moment. Like, whatever you do, don't flip that switch.
Yeah. But
yes.
So it's... I kind of get it, that, like, you have to impose some structure on this. You have to, like...
Yeah.
That when you're dealing with something that is truly infinite and messy as every possible version of everything ever, you need to impose some structure on that. But it's too... I mean, I don't know how it would come across to just like a normal cinema goer, but like me and you, as people who are kind of literate in the language of film, it's just so... It seems like such a lazy way of imposing that structure. It's
lazy, and it's indulgent, and it's kind of... It whiffs with, well, a lack of originality, because we'll use everything we have before.
Yeah.
The TikTok, Twitter, social media universe where things can resurface and become memes and become popular again. Like, films aren't as easily forgotten, really, as they once were. But more than anything, it whiffs of that kind of woke inclusivity thing. Not woke in the sense of, oh, we have to make sure we have black, and even though there's that as well. Inclusive in that, like, it all counts. Yeah. If you liked Andrew Garfield, it counts.
Yeah.
We're even going to pay off his emotional storyline.
Yes.
You know, it's like, it was over. It's done, you know? Like, I'm watching Everybody Loves Raymond at the moment.
Right.
And they're often asked, like, so when are you coming back? They're like, well, both the parents are dead. It's done. But they keep getting asked, and it's just like, no, it's over. And I've seen the trailer for the new Frasier, and that's a bit worrying.
Okay.
But, you know, we can't let anything go.
Yeah.
I'm all for their multiverse, like, versions of The Flash, but I want it to be contained within that universe, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Michael Keaton's Batman is not part of the multiverse. You know? Like, you can introduce other versions of Flash that are part of this universe's multiverse.
Yeah.
But I don't have to think about all the old Batman films and all the old Spider-Man films.
Well, I mean, it was cheap when Marvel did it, when they brought Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back, because it was their way of introducing the multiverse to their own canon.
Yes.
But they were...
They hoovered in a couple of other canons.
They exploited, franchises that came before. The kind of, like, the affection that people have for them and the nostalgia they have for them.
Yeah.
They were able to exploit that to kind of boost the success of their own film. The Flash is doing that, but it's not even doing it for the character the film is about. Yeah. Because there is, apart from, like, I think some people really like the Flash TV show.
Right.
But other than that, there is no, like, famous definitive version of the Flash.
I think the Flash I know is Wally West. That's the name I know for the Flash.
But they didn't bring back Wally West.
No,
they brought Michael
Barry
Keaton's Batman.
And Michael Keaton's Batman. Yeah, but that's the thing, the Flash isn't popular enough to justify that.
Yeah.
Like the TV show, yeah, maybe. But other than that, no. Who knows all the Flashes? We all know Michael Keaton as Batman. Christian Bale. All of them who wouldn't do it.
No. All of the nostalgia baiting in this film is for, like, DC franchises other than the Flash. It's all for Superman and it's all for Batman.
That's the thing. I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe hit low points before No Way Home. But that was its jumping the shark moment, because out beyond the scope of the Spider-Man franchises, it put into my mind at least, and I think your mind, well, if they're doing that with Spider-Man, why can't they do that with everything? Yeah. You know, X-Men now. Is that all canon? You know, that was the jumping the shark moment. You've crossed the Rubicon now. Like, you've gone too far.
But also, that's the thing. They're only going to do it for the stuff that came before.
And the stuff that's popular.
Because all of these, like, Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness, there wasn't a single variant of Doctor Strange that wasn't played by Benedict Cumberbatch.
Because there hasn't been
one. Yeah, exactly. If there had been, he would have played other versions of Doctor Strange.
That would be a good, like, joke. I think it'd be hard to pull off dramatically unless you really, like, that was what the film was about. A good joke would be you introduce a Doctor Strange as though it's Michael Keaton's Batman.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, who the fuck is this guy? It's like, well, no, he's, like, incredibly important. You just haven't seen that universe. Yeah. You know, that would be something. Because it's like they're taking the piss in a way. You know what I mean? But that would be good. You could do a whole film about that. Like, oh yeah, you're not the first Doctor Strange. Yeah. There is this other one, and he's like, he's the equivalent of Tobey Maguire or Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And
and you'd even have, like, moments in the film, like, where their little cute interactions. It's like, you know, like in No Way Home, there's so many where it's like, you know, Maguire goes on about his back hurting, or Andrew Garfield's finally having his chance to save Mary Jane. Yeah.
Little winks that mean nothing to the audience.
Yeah, but you'd have that with like, they would leave the beats for, like, like a fun moment.
The moment at the end of Batman Begins where he gets the Joker card, you do that stuff with Doctor Strange as though it's like audience gasp moment. Yeah. But it's completely meaningless.
Like a confused crowd.
Yeah, what?
No one would find that funny other than me and you.
No, I know, that's the thing, yeah.
No one would even understand, like,
the joke.
Yeah. Well, going back to...
Yeah, he gets, like, a letter in the post with, like a rat insignia on it, and he's like, he looks up, like, out the horizon, the rat has returned.
The rat-a-tat.
Yeah, the rat-a-tat. And it's like, what? What's this? Yeah. How am I supposed to know what that means? Yeah.
Doctor Strange, it's me, your most famous nemesis, the rat-a-tat. I can't believe they did the rat-a-tat justice.
Exactly, yeah. Can't wait for the sequel, you know, with the rat-a-tat. It's too long, of course, The Flash.
Yeah, it's way too long.
And considering its possibilities and the concept, etc., I developed something better than loathing for it.
Something better than loathing?
As in, not right.
Not
more than loathing.
Okay.
Something, a more positive feeling.
I found a better version of hatred.
Oh, Jordan, I found that. And then the final battle and the proceeding multiverse showreel demolished that feeling.
Well, that's the point where I was like, oh, this film is soulless, horrible, rubbish.
Yeah. The emotional finale in the supermarket is all that was needed.
Yeah.
But I know you can't get away with not having a cheap-looking fuck-off action scene on barren wasteland.
Yeah, it's that again,
It's that again. It seems that's a go-to.
Yeah, well, speaking of that again, I want to briefly return to Doctor Who for a moment.
Right.
I know you remember very little of the show.
Of the later years.
Of the later years. Well, the only ones you've seen.
No, I mean the later years of the later years.
Okay, well, my question was going to be, like, of the stuff you do remember, is the Stolen Earth / Journey's End amongst them? That's the season 4 finale where it's like
Stonehenge?
No, it's the season before that. Where David Tennant's kind of final season where everyone comes back.
Oh, with the Master being like a Jedi Master.
No, before that.
No, that's before that.
Davros. They steal planet Earth, and there's like 16 planets that they've stolen out of space and time. The Daleks.
Not by
it's the Doctor, it's Captain Jack, it's Sarah Jane. It's basically everyone that's been in a Russell T Davies episode is back.
And it wasn't his final.
It was basically the finale, and then like the specials were this kind of like weird little episode.
And the specials were the Jedi Master, was it?
Yes.
Because that was the end of Russell T Davies.
Yeah, that was the end of Russell T Davies. But they were the epilogue. The finale
kind of then. I remember the feeling of like being fucked with mythology.
Yes.
There's everything.
Yeah. No, you had everything from... Yeah, it was David Tennant, but you had everyone from Rose Tyler right down to Harriet Jones.
Right.
Yes, we know who you are.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking of that when I was watching The Flash, especially that end where they're bringing in like every conceivable... Like... The Nicolas Cage Never Happened Superman film was even referenced.
Yeah. Like I said, Cesar Romero as the Joker in the 60s Batman
TV
as
show. If that has any relevance or connection to anything that's happened in DC in the past, I don't know how many years. But yeah, I was thinking of that because it was like, Journey's End is like, as a story, it's like fine. Mm-hmm. But it's supposed to be this like big final party of the Russell T Davies era. It's this big massive blowout where everyone's back, everyone has a role to play. You're fighting the most iconic villains.
Yeah.
And you've brought back Davros as well, so it's kind of like the biggest threats within the Daleks that you could have them face.
Yeah.
He's in it as well. You got the shot at the end where like everyone is flying the TARDIS and it's all smooth and it's like this big reunion at the end of the era. And I think that's what Flash was supposed to be.
Was it?
It was supposed to be like this. I mean, you have Michael Keaton, Supergirl, but then you have Michael Shannon as well as General Zod, like the first villain from the first DC film.
Oh, you think they intended for this to be... Because obviously we're moving on now.
I don't think this was designed as a finale for the DCEU.
I was going to say, no, definitely not that.
But I think that, like, they might... Once they knew this was going to be the end, if they had any time left, they might have leaned into that a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Especially, like I said, with all the fan service stuff, because why is that even in the story? Right. It's got no place in the story.
I didn't think I could be, like... I'm not excited, but enthused about like more Justice League stuff. But the idea of now of like just getting rid of all that stuff.
Yeah.
And really actually getting rid of it. They have to do that.
Yes.
And now James Gunn is restarting with Superman, like, okay, we're back to Iron Man. That's like let's just take it easy.
Fucking calm down.
Yeah. But even though I think like in the Superman film you've got Green Lantern is in it and maybe Wonder Woman. Because Nathan Fillion is playing Green Lantern.
Yes. But
a version of Green Lantern.
A version of Green Lantern because of fucking course.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, but it's James Gunn.
Yeah.
And Rachel Brosnahan's playing Lois Lane, like, all right.
But, we'll see. A Green Lantern in a Superman film, I don't know if that's, like... If that's one of those, like, out there, like, oh, okay.
I don't know. I mean, they're both Justice League, I think. Both aliens.
Yeah.
No, he's not an alien, is he, Green Lantern? Or at least one of the... I don't know how it works. But he's the product of alien...
Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah, the tech is...
Yeah, the tech, yeah.
I think the tech is alien.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, that's, like, a Superman origin story that has the Green Lantern in it. That's new. He must know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Hopefully. He knows what he's doing.
I don't know what the idea is. I think maybe it's, like, his early years at the Daily Planet. So it's not necessarily him at Smallville and all that. It's early. I don't know. We'll see. But
yeah, which might be nice because that's what Man of Steel was. It was more Smallville than Daily Planet.
Yes. Yeah.
So to have an origin story that's a bit more dynamic, I suppose.
Batman Begins is the best one, right? That's the best superhero origin film because it is, in the Nolan way, as we'll get to, it is intercutting between timelines and you get the origin and you get the early days, and you get a serious villain. So there's a way to do it. Like, the Smallville stuff needn't be long. I mean, it really doesn't. He crashes, he's raised, you're an alien. What? He can jump across cornfields.
Yeah.
Metropolis. Like, done.
Yeah.
Done.
I just want to clarify as well with the Journey's End point.
Yes.
I'm not saying that the two are comparable.
Right.
My point was going to be that with Journey's End, it did genuinely feel like a celebration. I'm part of that is, like, I was the right age when I saw it, so it could be nostalgia.
Also, it was self-consciously that. Like, it was the end. Whereas this, they probably didn't know it was an end.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, when you've got all of these people fighting the Daleks and kind of, like, seeing how far those characters have come in the 4 years they've been on screen, there is this kind of sense of, like, oh yeah, we've been on a journey. Like, we've gone somewhere. Something has happened.
Yeah, even if you're fooled.
Yes,
so I'm
exactly.
I'm not saying you weren't Doctor Who, because a lot of that stuff is really good.
Yeah.
But, like, Endgame, where they're all finally, that shot of them all running together, like, right, okay, this is the end. This is what it was all building towards.
Yes.
I feel like I've travelled.
Exactly. Whereas when I saw Michael Shannon on that salt flat...
Like, oh, yeah.
It was like... we haven't gone anywhere. This is like we're back to Man of Steel again.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's not like he was such a great villain, but that franchise hasn't had any, right?
No. It's had Michael Shannon. It's had Jared Leto.
It hasn't had any great films, has it? I mean, does the Suicide Squad count?
Great film?
Very good.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a great film. It's a good film.
The Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
It's better than good. I wouldn't call it great, but it's a very good film.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. So, like, if you want to count Peacemaker in that, not the TV show.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking of films now. Films that are good in that universe.
Okay.
I don't know if the Suicide Squad is. I don't know where that stands.
Okay. Well, you're talking about the first one now?
No, the Suicide Squad. Yeah.
I'm confused by what you're saying. So you said you don't know where it stands, but you also said it's very good.
No. I know where it stands in my opinion. I don't know where it stands in relation to the universe.
Well, Zack Snyder purists hate it.
Right.
Because it's James Gunn. Yeah. And the argument that I see all the time online is that the Zack Snyder films were actually very profitable. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad lost money, therefore it's an objectively worse film.
Sure.
But Warner Brothers have decided to go with James Gunn.
Yeah.
Because they hate Zack Snyder and they're bigoted or whatever.
Yeah, he's a martyr.
Yeah.
No, but is it part of the universe? Does the Suicide Squad take place in the same universe as Justice League?
I believe it does.
Right, okay. Then that's the one good one, I think, right?
Yeah. People seem to like Wonder Woman. It's okay.
I'm not a fan. Birds of Prey I like more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
That's about it. Yeah, so can we agree now? The time travel and multiverses over now. Now.
Oh, no. You and I totally agree.
It's time. Over.
We completely agree. But it's not for us to decide.
No, I know. But they have ended it now in that universe. Like, at least get one universe where that shit isn't happening. Because the MCU, there's no stopping that train.
No.
The DCEU, let's calm now.
Well, it's what we said, wasn't it? That, like, there were flashes of... Oh, yeah. But, like, in the Suicide Squad, there were moments where it was like, oh, yeah, this is, like... If you just, like, taken it in this... You pivoted this way slightly.
Yeah.
This would have been a perfect anti-Marvel thing. Announcing the Peacemaker TV show, then killing the character in the film and going, yeah, there is no Peacemaker TV show. The character's dead.
Yeah, and it's a shame that it's James Gunn as well. That it's not like it was taken out of his hands. And, no, he chose that. Yeah, actually, thinking about it, Peacemaker TV show shouldn't instill much confidence for his vision of the...
My only, like... The only thing that I'm sort of taking from that is it's a TV show. We were with the character a lot longer than we have been with his films. So maybe he's just not good on long-term projects.
Yeah, there's a season 2 of that coming, right?
Yeah.
Is that part of his new vision?
Oh, who knows?
Right. Over. Done.
Yeah, don't think
Flash
about
is
it.
done.
Yeah.
Asteroid City.
This is the Wes Anderson film. What Wes Anderson did.
It did. Yeah. Well, it's gorgeous from the first frame.
Oh, it's a feast. Yeah. It's one of it. Is it one of his best looking films?
It's one of his best looking films. Yeah, it's up there.
Definitely.
As could be expected. It's very much to my taste.
Deserts.
Just his visual style.
Okay.
But I did worry from the off that it was going to be too much.
Okay.
The sheer amount of text on the diner.
Oh, right.
Just like burnout from overstimulation. Like having to really get everything in, you know. And of course you can rewatch it, but I want to get the fundamental experience the first time. This, anyway, that ultimately turned out not to be the case. I like its relative restraint compared to, say, the French Dispatch.
Okay. Restraint in what respect? Because this is a massive cast.
Yeah, but visually.
And there's a lot of... Okay, because I was going to say, there's a massive cast, and there's a lot going on as well.
Yeah, but it's kind of one story, you know, with things orbiting it.
The alien stuff.
Yeah. Whereas the French Dispatch, the problem with that film was that it wasn't really about anything. It was anthological. It was kind of... vaguely it's about this paper. Yeah. But it wasn't. It was like these 3 separate stories.
Well, that's interesting, because I was going to say that, like, that's kind of my problem with Asteroid City, is that I agree with you with the French Dispatch.
Yeah.
But I think that comes from it being anthology.
Yes.
Anthology. Mm-hmm. Like, every story is kind of different. Mm-hmm. Some are going to be better than others, and the connection is very loose. Yeah. But with this, like, yeah, it's... in terms of like a plot summary, I wouldn't really know what to say. You've got the family. No. They break down in Asteroid City, which is this town in the middle of the desert near a crater, crater. They're traveling to the. Jason Schwartzman is like the main.
Does this need to be done? I will ask.
Well, this is what I'm. Hopefully, this leads to something. Right. Jason Schwartzman is kind of the main character. Mm-hmm. He's got 3 kids. 4 kids?
I don't know, Joe. I can't remember.
I think it's like 3 daughters and a son. Okay. I don't know. His wife is dead. Mm-hmm. They don't know that the wife is dead. They're going to the wife's father's house, their grandfather's house, where he hopes to tell them that the wife is dead. Yes. But they break down on Asteroid City, so the grandfather kind of has to come and get them. Mm-hmm. And they end up like, just like ingratiating themselves into the community. Jason Schwartzman kind of forms a bond with Scarlett Johansson, who's one of the various characters there. Mm-hmm. There are all of these other little micro stories going on as well, and then halfway through the film, an alien shows up. Yes. Takes the asteroid from Asteroid City. That kind of like takes over the narrative a little bit, where everyone's just like, "There's a fucking alien that's just shown up now. Oh fuck!" You know? Yeah. But yeah, I would say that like my main problem with it is I don't really know what the core of it is. I know the alien stuff kind of hangs over everything. Yeah. But that doesn't feel like the heart of Asteroid City.
No, I don't think it's a tightly written piece. And it's not... It's one of his worst films, but that's... He generally makes very good films.
Well, this is another one of those films where it's like, it's artifice within artifice within artifice.
Well, okay, so of course it's indulgent. It's a Wes Anderson film. But the most important indulgence in this one is form, not style, like it was with The French Dispatch. Okay. That film was so indulgent because of its visual... panoply, just how much there was. Yeah. Black and white, shit going on all the time. This one, it's more about, that thing of boxes within boxes. Yeah.
Because like the framing device, which doesn't feel entirely necessary to me. No. But yeah, it's like, it's an episode of a TV show that's covering the production of a play, and then the film that we're seeing is the play, but like in an actual location, rather than taking place on stage. Yeah. Like in reality...
I don't think it's an actual location.
In reality, the play is taking place on stage. But we are seeing the events unfolding in a town, like an actual town that the characters are inhabiting.
But isn't that their set, essentially?
That's what I'm not sure of.
Yeah, so this is... Okay, so we'll come to that. Yeah. As always with Anderson, there's satisfying order in a chaotic universe, right? It's said that writers, directors at heart are broken control freaks. Having to impose a structure and narrative on things, fabricating their own little worlds in which they're God. And you tend to forget that until you watch Wes Anderson. It becomes very clear that's exactly what's happening. When the alien lands, the little final extension on the pole on which the alien descends, that's Anderson in microcosm. Embellishment upon embellishment
of detail, yeah.
There's a great moment where one of the standouts for me in the cast was Maya Hawke. Ethan Hawke's daughter, playing the teacher.
Oh, yeah.
And she's talking to the kids, and she's trying to tell them about Jupiter, teach them about space. And I think one of the kids goes, except now there's an alien. And it's occurred to me, if that ever happened, if aliens ever landed, that line could slot into any delivery of information. You know what I mean? In 1066, there's a Battle of Hastings, but, now there's an alien. Witty dialogue, as you can expect.
Oh, this is the thing. Like, I've started off quite negative.
No, I think we'll get to what you're talking about.
Yeah, but no, like this film does have some of Wes Anderson's best habits on display.
Yes, it's funny.
The visual beauty of it.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Yeah,
like when those moments of hits, they do hits.
Yes, it's funnier than The French Dispatch.
Definitely, yeah.
I'm getting a proper crush on Maya Hawke.
Okay.
It's comforting to know there's a filmmaker that will, touch wood, never slip into politico-cultural bullshit.
Yeah.
He never deals with that stuff. He just does his own stories in his own world.
Yeah, there just doesn't seem like there's any room for it.
It's not the real world.
Yeah.
It's this other place, it's this fantasy. Okay, then there was the narrative of the experience, rather than the experience of the narrative. Okay. It's the most brazenly meta Wes Anderson movie.
Yes.
Reciting the scenography, the cast list, notes to lighting department. It's one of the rare Anderson films where the artificiality can actually be given a reasonable context outside pure style. But you're never under the impression you're watching a play. Unless it's the idea of a play expressed expressionistically.
Which I think was my assumption.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that it's playing with reality in that way.
Yeah. Because there are moments as well where that reality breaks a couple of times. Bryan Cranston is sort of the film's narrator.
Yeah.
He is the host of the TV show that is covering the play that is happening expressionistically in the desert.
Yes.
And I will say that, I just assumed that Wes Anderson was one of those filmmakers where anyone could work with him and anyone would, fit. Bryan Cranston does not fit in a Wes Anderson film to me.
I didn't have as much a problem with it as you did, but I do kind of see where you're coming from. The stilted thing, he doesn't pull it off.
No, I think, because, you've got Hal, you've got Walter White, they're like charisma powerhouses.
Yeah.
And it's such an deliberately uncharismatic performance that he's delivering.
Yeah.
And it clashed for me. Because especially since there are other actors within the film where it feels like they've reached some sort of compromise between quote-unquote real acting and Wes Anderson acting.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks, Hong Chow, is that their name? They felt like they were kind of delivering performances that could exist outside of a Wes Anderson film, but also didn't feel out of place.
I know what you mean.
Whereas Bryan Cranston felt like he was doing an impression of a Wes Anderson character and it didn't suit him.
They're as naturalistic as it gets in a Wes Anderson film.
Yeah.
Whereas Cranston was going more for, I'm supposed to sound artificial.
Yeah.
But he's good at Isle of Dogs. I know it's
which is weird, yeah.
But that is strange.
Yeah. But my point was going to be that he does actually show up in the play at one point, and the characters acknowledge that he's in the play.
Yeah.
And he's like, I better leave.
It's just kind of, the boundaries just kind of fall away at a certain point.
Yeah.
Anything that lends it a scale tips it into the cinematic, mostly the nature of the set and the sound design, nullifies the sense that it's theatrical.
Yes.
Just the sounds of the desert, and
Yeah.
So if we're saying that it's a play being portrayed figuratively, we're close to the definition of film.
Okay.
So why literalize the notion so heavily at the beginning and keep constantly reminding you with intertitles? Do you know what I mean? If what he's doing is, we're doing a play, but it's expressed in this different way, you're talking about a film.
Yeah.
That's what a film is.
Because that might be fun. Wes Anderson films have this layer of artificiality to them anyway. The Grand Budapest Hotel exterior is very clearly a miniature.
Yeah.
All of his chase sequences have this kind of jerky falseness.
Almost like Benny Hill.
Exactly. Yeah. So for the characters to be occupying a town completely constructed of cardboard cutouts.
Yeah.
That could be fun. Or it could be an interest. It wouldn't feel totally out of place for Wes Anderson, but it would also be uncharted territory for him. It'd be interesting to see if he could pull that off.
Well, we'll circle back to that as well, because there's a comparable film. So it sits somewhere uncomfortably between play and movie as a result.
Yeah.
This is a place that Anderson films repeatedly occupy, but we've never been given a reason before for the artificiality, and that's what made them work.
Yeah.
If that's just the way that they look, you don't question it.
Yeah.
Whereas we're told now it's a play, and I go, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Look at the scale of it.
Yeah. Where's the roof?
Where's the roof?
Yeah.
When you start thinking about the style as a construct within the picture, it loses something.
Okay.
It's interesting that he's getting more grounded than abstract in his development, though.
You think this is more grounded?
Yeah.
After everything we've just been talking about.
No, well, this is what I mean. Like, the neurotic need for control only grows more obsessive. So, yes, that conceptualization of what is it is abstract. By more grounded, I mean, he is reading the set design to you.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, breaking it down. I think all of this is legitimate criticism. It's about whether you care. Whether you're just happy living in these elegant boxes and surrendering to the experience. I like it in there.
Yeah.
And it takes some time, but if you're partial, you do fully surrender, I think.
Okay.
Because if this is a play, the performances were atrocious. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like they're film performances.
Yeah. No, I don't mean that. I mean, because of the whole idea of Anderson is it's so artificial. If I'm supposed to be watching an actual play, they're bad actors.
Right.
Because they're delivering it in that artificial Wes Anderson way.
Yeah.
And why is everything on stage labelled? It's like we're still in pre-production. But yeah, Dogville was the film that I was talking about.
Right, okay.
Which was essentially a play on a soundstage with minimal decoration and literally painted outlines of this is someone's house and it would say living room on the floor, you know, down to, I rewatched it recently, down to gooseberry bushes.
Oh, right.
You know, out on the street. But it wasn't a play. It was a film that just had that kind of look to it. And then Asteroid City does become a play. And it's kind of like time travel. Just go with it.
Right.
Like all that conversation we've had is legitimate, but it's like, if you're up for it, you're up for it. And I can see if you don't like Anderson, this is not a film that's going to win you over.
No.
As soon as all the boundaries start breaking down and the whole thing is impressionistic. So, you know, when it shows the actors and they start singing or they delivering a monologue. That's
there's a line they keep repeating.
Outside the context of the play. It weirdly, for me, allayed my earlier misgivings because it's like, oh, the whole thing is abstract.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, now that I'm not supposed to really assume it's a play, it's all kind of expressionistic, impressionistic, whatever word you want to use. The ending does feel like it wraps everything up nicely. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
Okay.
I thought I would go and go, this is really one of the weaker Anderson. And it is, but it's still good, I think.
Okay.
But I understand your concerns with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had less... I wasn't as bothered by its relationship to reality. Or I wasn't as kind of engaged with it as you were.
Well, that's why I called it the narrative of experience, because I start off going, right, what am I watching? Is this a play? No, it's not. Listen to the sound. About the end of it, it was like, none of it's real.
Right.
So I don't have to really think about it. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there was just like I said, for every good habit and good moment that the film has, there was like another thing that would just kind of bother me a little bit.
Did you like it more than The French Dispatch?
Yeah, I liked it more than French Dispatch, definitely. I'd watched this before I rewatched that.
Yes, definitely.
But like I said, I suppose they're little things in the grand scheme of things. Bryan Cranston isn't in it that much, ultimately. I will say, yes, like I've said before, Wes Anderson films do have this artificiality that you accept.
Yeah.
That said, the CG alien was a mistake.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yes, that was bad.
Yeah.
It was too janky. It's kind of...
It was just bad CG. And not like in a David Lynch way where its uncanniness turns into something that enhances the experience.
Or it's meant to look a bit shit because it's a play, because it's a Wes Anderson film, whatever. But yeah, no, but you're right, it's not that. It's too bad.
The bizarre thing about it is that we see Jeff Goldblum in an alien costume later in the film.
Yeah.
That's it.
That would have been fine.
That would have been fine. And if you did it for scale, if the idea was like, oh, we need a CG alien because it needs to be small.
Yeah.
Do like camera trick, shrink down Jeff Goldblum. That'd be fun.
Or, I mean, I wouldn't do that just so you can differentiate between, if you're going to have a guy in a costume later, do it as like stop motion or clay, you know, like something where it doesn't look right.
Yeah.
But it's good.
Or
what it is.
If you're going to do it, if the idea is that the what we're seeing in the town isn't an impression, it is the actual play taking place, puppets.
Right.
Or do what they do with Warhorse, where they have like these kind of massive puppets that they wear.
Yeah. Or even like cardboard cutouts. If it was done well enough, you wouldn't question it because it's a play, because it's a Wes Anderson film.
Yeah. Jeff Goldblum peeking out from behind this cardboard cutout of an alien.
Yeah. But again, if I'm supposed to think I'm watching a play, even an expressionistic one, why is there CG?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you're right. That was the weakest thing in the film.
And the alien doesn't do anything. It doesn't have an anatomy that means that it has to be
no.
done in CG, nor does it do anything that you wouldn't be able to replicate with a physical prop.
It's a typical alien when you picture an alien, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of what
it's a typical alien that just looks a bit surprised.
And
picks up a rock, and that's literally all it does.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would recommend, if you like Wes Anderson, I would recommend it. I would recommend it if you're into film. I don't think I'd recommend it to most people though, because I think it's very much like if you, it is like taste when it comes to food.
Yeah.
If you don't like the taste of his films, you will not like it.
Yeah, this is not a gateway film.
No,
it's not a gateway. You need to like him, or you need to have been exposed to him before.
Yes.
Before you try it.
What is the gateway film? Royal Tenenbaums.
Royal Tenenbaums or Grand Budapest, I think.
Yes.
Because while Grand Budapest is full-blown Anderson in style and presentation, and like everything, I think the humour makes it accessible enough for people.
Yeah, it's the most broadly funny one. I think, and Royal Tenenbaums is more, for me anyway, it's more emotionally...
Yeah.
You invest in it more emotionally.
Yeah.
But the thing with Grand Budapest as well, if I'm remembering correctly, it's not a book or a play. It's someone telling a story, about someone telling them a story about someone. That's the artificiality of it.
Yes. Yeah. There's 2 or 3 levels of storyteller.
Yeah. So it all happens in the real world. It just looks the way that an Anderson film does.
Yeah.
Okay. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Do. I'm a bit annoyed, Sam.
Part 1.
Well, this is the thing. I've done nothing but complain.
Yeah.
About these part 1s.
Yes.
That are forcing themselves on us without consent in the world of cinema. It's like you're gonna watch this 2.5 hour film and it's not gonna finish and you'll be fucking pleased with it.
Yes.
But this and Spider-Verse, they're both really good. Or they're both pretty good.
Yeah. So
that's the problem, is that I have to say I don't like that this splitting these films into multiple parts is happening, but the 2 big examples are both films that I ultimately like.
Yes, I also ultimately like it. I mean, it used to just be understood that, unless it was like a James Bond film, but even then in some cases, like Harry Potter, it was the same series, the same story playing out over multiple films, and you could just give them different names.
Well, even Harry Potter had the part.
At the end it did, yeah. But do you know what I mean? I think that was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that started it.
That really started. The Hunger Games did it.
Yeah.
Just call it something else. Mission Impossible, and then call the last one Dead. They don't have to do part 1, part 2. Yeah. It's not so crucial that we consider these. Infinity War and Endgame are called different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that is one big story, essentially. Tom Cruise is one of the 2 producers of this film.
Yes.
But at the beginning it says a Tom Cruise production, and that sums it up really.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? I don't know if they did that at the start of the other films. I can't remember.
I have no idea.
But I like it. I like that the series knows what it is. It knows what its strength is.
Oh yeah, you don't do a plot summary for a Tom Cruise film anymore.
No.
You explain what type of stunts he's doing in it.
Yeah, it's a Tom Cruise film.
Yeah.
He's truly one of the few movie stars left, right? Maybe the only one.
Yeah, probably. Well, yeah,
on that scale, certainly. Yeah.
Certainly.
You'll never do TV.
No. Yeah.
I just can't see it. I can't see it happening. The exposition about the AI, the opening credits, classy schlock. This film is schlock. It's well-made schlock.
It's incredibly well-made schlock.
But it's schlock.
It starts... It has 3 cold opens.
Yeah.
That scene in... wherever it is, in the NSA building.
With Mark Gatiss.
Mark Gatiss and Cary Elwes and all those other people. That really had me worried.
Right.
Because that scene, to me, felt farcical in parts. Because the idea is that it's supposed to be, we are, the various pillars of government, feeding back to you, the National Security Advisor, that there's this AI out in the world, we can't beat it, it's in every system ever, we're fucked, basically. That right outside that window is a room of 10,000 people copying all of our data onto folders, because any moment now, that AI could cripple our entire national grid. Yeah. Our entire security network, everything. But it does the thing where everyone's finishing each other's sentences. So someone will say something and then someone will carry on the next piece of information.
Dynamic.
Yeah. And that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be dynamic exposition. But it's the only trick in the book that they've got, that they use. And they've clearly got they clearly went to the effort of differentiating these people. So you've got like security, like a military advisor. You've got someone who's probably a politician, someone who's probably like a finance director or something. They have different roles, but they're all delivering the same information to this guy.
Yes.
Like, that's how... I know that, like, an exposition scene like that, you can't really... There's only so much depth that need be added to something like that, because it's a purely functional scene. But that's how you do it. You have, like, a guy in a military uniform say, oh, well, the thing about this AI is we could actually use it as a weapon.
Yeah, lower our defenses.
Yeah, and then the finance guy goes, yeah, but it could crash the markets.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that.
You pad it out with everyone's expertise.
Yeah, but they're just not doing that. They're just going, oh, the AI is scary and it's coming and we don't know what to do.
Yeah, that scene, beyond that exposition dump, it's kind of... I saw its purpose as... Because everyone in there is a familiar face. And almost setting them up as characters.
Yeah.
But they never come back. Maybe they will in the next one. But it's almost like these are the... You know, in Hot Fuzz, they cast... everyone, well, most of the villagers were people that had played villains in the past. That kind of thing, where like, ooh, okay, who's the... I guess just the very fact that they're high-profile actors means that the characters are important. And then they're gone. Yeah. I get that was the point, I think. An exposition, like, was a byproduct. Like, okay, we can also do the exposition dump. Yes. You know. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Because especially by that point, I mean, the credits kick in about half an hour into this film. Yeah. That scene rolls into the credits.
Yes.
So for half an hour, the film is struggling to gain any momentum, and then it's just mired in this, like... It's not crap, but it's, like, not a very good exposition.
No, it's schlock. That's okay, I'm watching, like, a film that kind of knows it's not very good. Yeah. Like, on the plot level.
Yeah, and then... I don't know, as soon as those credits are over, it just, like, it's off, you know? And it doesn't stop.
Solid, clear storytelling.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop moving.
Yeah.
The action is good.
The action is good, but it's good within its own context.
Right.
I think you and I are the same in that we're not fans of Mission Impossible Fallout. We're not particular fans of Top Gun Maverick either.
No.
If we were ever going to re-experience those films, we would watch the action scenes on YouTube.
Yeah.
And never revisit the film itself.
Yeah.
This film, I don't feel like that would be the case. I feel like I would revisit the film before...
Okay.
Like, I feel like... I watch an action scene from Mission Impossible Fallout and I go, that's a really good action scene. I'm done now. I watch an action scene from Mad Max and I go, I really need to rewatch Mad Max.
Right.
I feel like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning leans a little bit more towards Mad Max because the action scenes do actually, like... There's a continuity to them.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah. Like, I like good action movies. I like Mad Max, love The Raid, you know. Yeah. For whatever reason, this Mission Impossible franchise, from the 5th one onwards, just isn't fully my cup of tea. I don't know why. It's just not.
I think it's that. I think it's like... Obviously, these films are stunts first. They decide what crazy shit Tom Cruise is going to do, and then they build the film around it.
Yeah.
This film is just better built. Like, you've got that action scene in the airport. Or obviously they're trying to track down the key and everything, but then you've got that action scene on the side where Benji is like trying to defuse the bomb.
Yeah.
And the AI is secretly like building a catalogue of Benji's voice clips so that later in the film it can synthesize his voice and lead Ethan into a trap.
Yes.
Very like clever. Again, it is a schlocky film, but it's very cleverly, you know, that scene matters.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Later on. It's almost a shame that like the trap that the AI leads Ethan Hunt into is Pom Clementif in an alley.
Right, yes, yeah.
Like that's how like, oh, you're gonna die now, Ethan Hunt. Here's a small Asian woman with a bat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I liked the film. I mean my final note is it's good, you know?
Yeah.
But like that's it for me. Like I probably will never rewatch it.
Oh, okay.
My favourite Mission Impossible film remains Mission Impossible 3, and I know I'm the only person in the world that
it's thinks it's because of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Well, and J.J. Abrams.
Okay.
I like that kind of that's kind of storytelling.
Okay.
But Hoffman, is also the best film they've had, I think. And the opening scene is great. I know I don't want to review Mission Impossible 3.
No.
But the point is, like everyone, the first one is kind of a late 90s espionage film with some over-the-top action stuff.
Yeah.
And then the second one is a full-on stylized John Woo action film. Over the top. but in that kind of like almost homoerotic way.
Right.
The third one is a J.J. Abrams movie.
Yeah.
It's Alias, but on the big screen. The fourth one, it is literally between the third and fifth. It's somewhere between that. And then 5 onwards, it's been what it is now, with varying degrees of success.
Yeah.
And it's just not really my cup of tea, and I don't know why that is. It's because, usually the story is just not all that much. They're not particularly well written. This is the best one since Fallout.
Yeah.
Because, yes, it's not just action scene, plot. They interact and intersect in this, which is really good. But it's still kind of a bit... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. And obviously it doesn't have the kind of dignity and sort of coolness, I suppose, of the better James Bond films. So it's not as if it's not a franchise that you like watch and you're like, it's Ethan Hunt, you know?
Well, that's because Tom Cruise kind of lacks personality.
Yeah. Oh, certainly now. Ethan Hunt is nothing now.
Nothing. And every character Tom Cruise now plays is basically Tom Cruise. I rewatched War of the Worlds recently, which I really like, the Spielberg one. And even in that, he's doing something a bit different, where the whole thing of that film is, I think Kermode said it best, Tom Cruise discovers that true manliness is running away and protecting your daughter.
Right.
That film, he's just running from, I know that's the thing Tom Cruise runs, but it's him fleeing. Terrified, doesn't know what the fuck to do. His kids don't respect him.
Right.
His son wants to go off and fight, be in the army and fight them. And he's like, no, you fucking madman, no. And he has to let him go. And it's like, that's something different. Now, Tom Cruise is just cool Tom Cruise guy. Whereas James Bond, at his best, has personality.
Yeah.
Unless it's Roger Moore.
Yeah, so I think that, that's what it is. They haven't really... They have developed a reputation, but they haven't quite gotten to the point where, for me, the films can kind of stand up on their own.
No, well, they lack gravity and emotional weight as well that James Bond can have.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't have the pedigree. But I guess that's the closest comparison. I mean, they are films that you watch for the stunts, yes, and for the action. And I would like a little bit more than that. And this film is a little bit more than that, but not quite enough for me to make it like a fully worthwhile experience.
It's a promising start, though. If considering the next one is going to be a direct continuation, one would assume.
Yes. Well, I was under the impression that these were the final two, but they're not.
I think they originally were planned.
They originally were, but now they're not. Yeah. And that dampens them a little.
It does.
Not just for a thing's going to end, but also Dead Reckoning Part 1, Dead Reckoning Part 2, the 9th one.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I suspect that, Hayley Atwell was probably... She's the legacy character in the sense that, you bring her in, she's going to be the new Ethan Hunt, basically.
Yeah.
She's
Ethan...
Oh. Episode title?
What, Ethan Hunt?
I really liked her in this, though.
Yeah, I don't remember not liking her.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
She's a weird person to cast in Mission Impossible. They have their own little ghetto, the cast of those films, because she's not she's not the biggest thing in the world right now.
But maybe that's what they were banking on.
Yeah, but you know what I mean?
You're going to be our Tom Holland, basically. We're going to build you.
But it's like Hayley Atwell. She's been around for a long time now.
Yeah, she's Captain... What's her face?
She's Captain America's, So it's just weird that now is her in a Mission... Do you know what I mean? It's a bit strange, but it's fine.
But I don't know, she fits in... I thought she fit in quite comfortably. And I think that the driving... The train sequence at the end is great.
Yes.
And obviously the jump that leads to it is great as well. But yes. I really like the action scene in the middle where her and Tom Cruise are handcuffed together and they're trying to...
That was good.
...escape in the car.
But it's always funny. It always shatters the reality. And I think a Mission Impossible film, right? You're not invited to really escape into it. As much as it's the definition of escapist entertainment.
Yeah.
It's more just look at this cool thing. Whenever it gets to the stunts, they're filmed in such a way, on a GoPro, like you'd see on a professional YouTube video, to show you that they did the stunt.
Yeah.
So those moments always break the kind of immersion to some extent. Because I know as a director, you'd go, right, let's really make sure we film this. The primary aim is not that it fits into the story. or the visual language, the primary aim is to demonstrate that our actor did this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, him hanging off the plane in, was it Rogue Nation? Or,
Yeah.
It's, so there's always like this is the money shot.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I always get a little bit depressed when I watch Mission Impossible because of Simon Pegg. Because I'm just sad that he's not doing interesting things anymore. He's not writing his own screenplays and stuff.
He's in what's that film that he's in? The Legend of...
It's like Hodor and something, or Nondor or whatever.
No. It's the Legend of Gary the Mongoose or something.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a British film where he plays like I think it's like based on a true legend or something. He plays like a writer and then he goes to like a little village. And apparently there's like a talking mongoose there. Right. And he's basically goes to see if it's true or not. And he's putting on like a voice, and it feels like it's but it's like a performance he's giving.
But also he hasn't done anything good since the Three Flavors trilogy. Yeah. Not one thing. Like Mission Impossible, okay, but that's not a Simon Pegg film.
You say that as someone who doesn't like Star Trek Beyond.
Oh well, I like Star Trek.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of Star Trek Beyond. No, but I don't know. There's like Simon Pegg, Shaun of the Dead. It was like, this guy. Like he's a real, as a writer, not just as a performer, as a writer. Yeah. And he just he's stopped doing that. And that's a shame. So I always get a bit depressed and he's looking older. And to me, he's like I know it happens, but I was a fan of Shaun of the Dead near the time it came out. And so he's very much like, I've kind of grown up with him in a way. And seeing him old makes me feel older.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's one of those guys for me.
Well, especially considering that we're kind of at the point in our lives now that he was
doing Shaun of the Dead.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah.
The 20-something that's like, you're on the verge of the rest of your life.
I think he's literally in the film. He's 29.
Yeah. Yeah. So like we're nearly there.
Yeah. Exactly. So are we done with Mission Impossible?
I guess the only like other point that I've got is, again, in terms of those action sequences, because it's a longer film.
Yeah.
And because they've clearly thought more about how these action sequences fit together. It feels like that they squeeze the most potential out of them.
Right.
Like they feel longer than previous films, but like for example that train sequence. I feel like in any other film, the train careens off the viaduct, smashes into the ravine below. They end up in the carriage that's just teetering over the edge. Yes. Action scene over. But no, there's like the carriage falls, and then they have to climb up the carriage, and then the next carriage falls. They have to climb up that carriage. Then another person comes in, and it feels like they're really like ratcheting up the tension and escalation.
Well, it's the equivalent of the Wes Anderson, the pod, the stick coming out of the leg.
Yeah.
Embellishment. Like that's the Mission Impossible version of it.
Yeah.
Shit just keeps going wrong. More action. Yeah, it's good. But I don't think I've had an inkling to rewatch any of them except the third one, because that's got something a little bit more going for it.
Yeah.
At the end of the third film, which is the most grounded of all of them.
Okay.
I can't remember the first one very well, but the third one's the most grounded.
The first one is the iconic, he comes down on the wire, right?
Yeah. And like I said, that's mostly like an espionage film. Like that film starts with John Voight is a CIA agent, and they're on a mission, but he's actually like, he's gone rogue, and he kills all of the other agents. And then Tom Cruise has to figure it out. But that final chase in that is like a helicopter in the Channel Tunnel.
Yeah.
And it's like out there. And the second one is out there. It's all motorbikes and slow motion and beaches. And the third one, like I said, it's still a Mission Impossible movie, but it's the most grounded it gets. There's nothing uber insane, I don't think. But at the end of the third film, Michelle Monaghan asks him, what does IMF stand for? And he says Impossible Mission Force.
Yeah.
Is that true? Does that still hold? Has that been brought up since then?
Impossible Mission Force?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mentioned in this film.
Is it? Okay, yeah. I don't remember that. So they are called that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because at the end of the third film, it's kind of like, we always talk about how do you justify something silly in a grounded thing.
Okay, yeah.
And to be fair, they don't he doesn't joke, he doesn't go, the Impossible Mission Force, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
He just answers, and she's like, what? That's kind of it. But it's kind of a passing thing. How is it brought up? Is it just said and taken at face value in this one?
Crazy exposition scene at the beginning.
Blah, 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 the Impossible Mission Force.
Yeah.
And it's not like they don't land on it.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, the guy that runs it is basically like, we have a guy searching for the key. And who is this guy? Oh, he works for the IMF. What's that? the something monetary fund, and he goes, no, not the bank. Yeah, not the bank, the other IMF, the Impossible Mission Force.
Okay, so they're embracing the silliness.
Yes.
Okay. Because that's what it stands for, It's just like we're supposed to accept that.
Yeah. Oh, I guess there is one more thing. I guess it's a minor point, and it's not necessarily this film's fault, if indeed it is a fault. It's weird that, like, obviously, it's a franchise. There are certain constants that you carry through to each film. The Mission Impossible franchise has decided the constant it's going to carry is the faces.
Yeah.
The masks you can wear to make you look and sound like another person. It's reached the point now where that just feels weird.
In what way?
Well, because basically every mission that Tom Cruise is accomplishing now, it's not you... Remember in Mission Impossible 4 when they infiltrate the Kremlin and they've got that, like, screen...
Yeah.
That, like, follows your vision, so it kind of, like, it's able to kind of realistically screen the hallway behind it.
Yeah, it's kind of a projection of the hallway behind it.
Yeah, so they're able to sneak up behind the wall without the guard knowing that it's, like, a flat screen.
Yes.
They don't have crazy tech like that anymore. The way that they solve missions now is Tom Cruise rides a bike off a cliff.
Yes.
It's all very tactile, very practical, skillful stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just find it weird when they introduce, like, almost sci-fi technology like that. Like, oh, we have this little 3D printer that's going to make a perfect replica of Vanessa Kirby's face. Up until now...
No, I kind of know what you mean, yeah.
Up until now, you were just infiltrating with pure, like, skill.
Yeah,
now you just have a magical item that will help you.
Yes, you're supposed to suspend your disbelief in terms of the action, not in the technology. Yeah, like, again, with the third one, they do the face thing, but they make it a deal of it. Like, they've got to scan his face, and then they've got to, like, knock him out so he's not around.
Yeah.
It's, like, a big part of the mission. It's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
I can accept that. It's stupid.
And I feel like in the early days of Mission Impossible, it probably fit in a bit better.
Well, I do not remember the first one at all. The second one, does it fit in? I mean, it's always a goofy idea because, I mean, you see them create it in the third one. That was its introduction.
Okay.
In the second one, the film starts with, like, a guy I think it's Ethan Hunt on a plane. And then it's actually the villain, and he pulls the mask off. And, like, and he plays this music. And they crash the plane.
Okay.
And then someone dresses up as this Russian professor, doing the accent and with the mustache. And I think it's just like, yeah, they have those masks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, it's a lot to ask.
But that's like it's like the only thing they really have. It's not like they have this James Bond arsenal of crazy gadgets. They just have masks.
I suppose as the franchise has gone on, because it hasn't been the same voice directing it, other than Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
But I feel like he has only become Tom Cruise probably since the third one.
Okay.
Where, like, oh, he has as much say now in what the film is. The second was the year 2000. So probably on the verge. But, yeah, there hasn't been an auteur. It's passed hands and has ended up with Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie.
Yeah.
Who are now the guys.
Yeah.
So I suppose as it's gone on, it's tried to figure out what are the essential elements. Like I was going to bring this up earlier. We talk often about, okay, you're doing a James Bond film. What must you have in a James Bond film?
Yeah.
And what the multiverses are doing is kind of getting rid of that as a creative question and saying, oh no, within the mythology of this universe, those things must exist.
Yeah. If James Bond doesn't have a cool car, the entire multiverse collapses.
Every James Bond has a villain and a cool car and an M and whatever.
Yeah.
Rather than that just being understood outside the context of the film as an element that's consistent. So they've obviously tried to figure out as they've gone on what that is, and the two things that have stuck are stunts and masks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why the masks.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're full on, It's like they're not just masks.
Well, that's the thing, because, like, in that airport chase, Luther has this, like, tech which, like, changes the faces of people on CCTV cameras to look like Ethan.
Right.
And it's like, there's probably not a version of that out there in the wild. But it's not a million miles away from deepfaking. We have a version of that technology.
Yes, I can, yeah.
I don't think we have masks that realistic that can be made in the way that the films say they can be made.
No. And again, I'm trying to think of how it depicts it. Again, in the third one.
Well, in Fallout, they literally, like, the guys in the bathroom, they just get a little pen, just go, and the machine is, like, building a realistic face.
Yeah, because now we've just got to the point where it's like, oh, fuck, it's easy. Like, fuck the mechanics. Yeah. In the third one, like, they build the thing around. They got to knock out Philip Seymour Hoffman. They got to, okay. I'm trying to remember it right. They've got to spill wine on him so he goes to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Then they knock him out, take his clothes, accept the, and they fucking wipe down the wine.
Yeah.
Then it shows the thing, like, constructing the mask. They have, like, a little strip that he puts across his throat so he can replicate his voice.
Yeah.
Puts a wig on. They show you, like, so you can at least buy into it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the big dilemma is, I think, someone, like, hits him and the voice thing fucks up. Right. So he has to minimize how much he speaks. It's like, that's good. I can kind of ignore the ridiculousness of the premise.
Yeah.
If I'm kind of being shown how it's executed and the consequences of it going wrong.
Well, they're testing it effectively, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're grounding it. Like, okay, I a little strip there, I get it. Whereas now it's just, who cares about that? Like,
right.
It's like the Iron Man suits. In the first one, you see him fucking sweating and building it.
Yeah.
And then by the end, it's call in my army of Iron Men.
Yeah.
That don't need to be manned.
Like spills over him.
Yeah. Is that it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
so.
All right. Oppenheimer.
Oh no, what's it go like? I'm thinking of the soundtrack now.
What's it go like? It doesn't stop.
Well, you know that noise that we hear multiple times through the film where it's like...
Oh, feet on the floor. Yeah. Oppenheimer. Technically, of course, it's a Marvel.
Oh god, yeah.
Yes. We like it.
We like it very much.
There are things I don't like about it. And I kind of...
But can we just, like...
But that's the thing. Yeah,
for a moment.
It's easier to just, like... The things that you like, you don't think about, really.
This is sort of the inverse for Asteroid City for me, where it's like, yeah, I do like it.
Yeah.
But I do think attention needs to be paid to stuff that it gets wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas with Oppenheimer, it's like, no, before we get to the stuff that's wrong...
Let's bask in the stuff that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fucking magnificence of it, you know?
Yes. It looks really good.
Oh, it's a stunning film.
Yeah.
It's one of Nolan's better scripts, I'd say.
I would agree.
I'm sure there's stuff we'll say later that does, I suppose, like, paint the script in a negative light.
It's one of his best scripts in terms of dialogue.
Yeah, definitely in terms of dialogue, and just in terms of, like, getting the balance right, in terms of... the two schools of thinking when it comes to Christopher Nolan, isn't there? There's the people that say that he is this generation's Stanley Kubrick. He is a cold, emotionless filmmaker. He's concerned with how things work mechanically, and that's kind of it. That's why his films are so technically fantastic, is because that's the part that fascinates him, less so the people that are in the films. And then there are the people that are forced to pipe up after that and say, well, no, there is actually humanity running through a lot of Nolan's films. Whether it's, again, a kind of technical fascination that he has, or whether he is actually, on some level, human. Yeah. There are moments of The Dark Knight that are very human and that deal with very human things. And I think with Oppenheimer, given that a lot of it is very scientific and about science, and there are moments of the film that are quite schematic in their presentation... It ends on an emotional beat for the character. Yes. And there are emotional beats throughout the film that I think do hit more often than not. And considering that he's the only writer, or the only credited writer, I think that's quite nice. Especially since we're coming off the back of Tenet, you know? Yeah, well, there's a line that Matt Damon delivers to Cillian Murphy at one point. He's talking about someone else, but he says, he strikes me as the type of person that understands maybe physics better than he understands people. Yeah. That, I think, that fits Nolan. Yeah. I don't think he's completely heartless. There are moments in, like, Interstellar, which is, I'd say, his most emotional film. Yeah, The Dark Knight. But we have to remember he wrote that with someone else. Yeah. So that has to be considered. Yeah, I don't think he's this generation's Kubrick. He's the closest to it. I think mechanical, yes, but I would say the crucial thing about Nolan is that he's most interested in the concepts.
and they're always very abstract. So it's time, space, memory.
Yeah.
You know, he has a scientific mind, I think.
Yeah, chaos, order.
Yeah.
They're all stuff like that, yeah.
They're big things. And like I said, I think
Fear.
Yeah, I mean, yes. But, of course, like, and themes tend to be abstract. But I mean, they're the grandest theme. They're dealing with perception and movement through the cosmos. You know, the big things. He's not completely, like, he's not autistic.
No.
But I don't think he necessarily cares as much about character as he does about concept.
Well, that was the big observation/joke, or joke/observation of Tenet, wasn't there? His main character is literally called the protagonist.
Well, it was nice because we talk often about the inevitability of a filmmaker's filmography. Villeneuve is our go-to, you know, where Sicario, good-looking film, Arrival, good-looking sci-fi film.
Yeah.
Very smart. And then Blade Runner, Dune. You know, it's been a constant inflation in a way. And it's kind of been the same with Nolan, where, you know, you had Memento, low budget, whatever, Insomnia, first studio movie, Batman, The Prestige, like really going in on the ideas, The Dark Knight, big action movie, large-scale action movie. Inception, larger scale, original action movie.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight Rises, even larger scale action movie. Interstellar, space, you know. And it kept inflating. And Tenet felt like the end point. That felt like the culmination of a lot of what you'd done. Original screenplay, time, heavily conceptual, and the character was called protagonist.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Oppenheimer, in a way, you know, is a development in a lot of ways. He's progressed, but it's kind of a reset as well in a way where this is not the follow-up to Tenet.
No.
Tenet was the end of something.
Yeah.
And now this is something else. Okay, so what else is good about it? Cillian Murphy is good.
Yeah, fantastic.
He's very
performance. Good. It totally sucks you in.
Yes.
You know, you do. Actually, no. Did you forget it was Cillian Murphy at any point?
No.
Yeah, but I don't think that's Cillian Murphy's fault.
No, I never forget it's Cillian Murphy because he plays similar characters a lot of the time.
Okay.
And he's a very conservative actor.
Okay.
Even though he did Scarecrow, and that's quite out there, he tends to play buttoned down, cold, intellectual. That's what he's the quintessential Nolan actor. He is the De Niro to Nolan Scorsese. Removed, cryptic, those icy cold eyes.
Yeah.
That's Nolan, you know? Much of the film rests on his haunted visage.
Oh, yes.
And he carries it. He does carry it.
Yeah.
You never get a proper insight into his mind. I didn't think so anyway.
Okay.
But there is a line later in the film that suggests maybe that's part of the point. I think Teller says to him, like, who knows what the fuck you think? You know?
Yeah, well, the film has an interesting framing device, a very Nolan framing device.
Yeah. Also, do we need to really explain the plot? Everyone knows what this film is about, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, it's basically, it's the biography of Oppenheimer.
Yeah, who invented the atomic bomb.
Atomic bomb. This film does have a plot, but it's sort of nested within this framing device where you've got two strands kind of running alongside each other. One labelled fission, one labelled fusion. But practically what that means is some of the film is in colour, some of the film is in black and white.
Yeah.
The colour stuff tends to focus more around Oppenheimer and the development of the atomic bomb and also his kind of affairs and like the trial that he has or that he's made to go through after the atomic bomb is built.
Yeah.
And then the black and white stuff follows Robert Downey Jr., who plays Robert Strauss. Louis Strauss. Strauss.
Yeah.
Fuck! He does make a big deal of it.
That's
Yeah. The father of the hydrogen bomb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think the guy that invented it, but the guy...
No, but like the guy instrumental in pushing for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has been recommended. He's been offered a position in government.
Yeah.
And he's sort of going through like a vetting period.
Confirmation hearings.
The confirmation hearings. And he's being asked questions about Oppenheimer and Oppenheimer's life and time. And so, it's kind of social networky almost, where it's kind of like these trials
Yeah, that was the first thing when it cuts to Oppenheimer in whatever. It's kind of a trial, but it's more like it looks more like a deposition where there's no judges, there's no courtroom. Yeah, I did think Social Network. Yeah, where we're going to be flitting back and perspectives are important, and yeah, there's some of that in there.
Yeah,
definitely.
And Nolan said that when sort of asked about it, he said, "Oh, well, the color stuff is sort of a subjective take on Oppenheimer's life through the eyes of Oppenheimer."
Yeah.
And then the black and white stuff is a more objective view of the story from the perspective of another character, which I think is basically the words that he used.
Yeah. I mean, I read a bit of the screenplay, and the subjective stuff is written in the first person.
Your theory being...
My theory being that, like, okay, we can all say, to get into it, whatever. But like I said, because we never really understand his mind, it's all well and good saying, I did this, I do that, I do... That's movement. You can't say how the guy feels. But anyway, so my theory is that it's so he didn't have to keep writing Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Because, like you would try and come up with a way around that, definitely.
Yeah, and because characters in the film do call him Oppie.
Oppie, yeah.
But I don't think, as a writer, you wouldn't want to call him Oppie.
No one wouldn't do that.
No, exactly, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too personal. Especially since, as you say, if the idea is that we're not really supposed to get a clear picture of him, why be so personal?
Yeah.
Even on a level where no audience is going to experience it.
Exactly, yeah.
But that's the thing, there's like, it's not that clean really, because...
No, it's not.
All of the quote-unquote objective stuff with Robert Downey Jr. is not, because you find out that his personal biases are informing all of his actions and decisions, and he's gonna,
Well, it kind of comes as a twist. Yeah. So is that the idea that, objective, subjective? But you would only know that if you listen to Nolan give an interview on it. The film doesn't present that.
No.
The film doesn't set up the... Right, this is very much Taxi Driver. It's his worldview.
Yeah.
And this is actual concrete reality.
Yeah.
It's not like that at all. So yeah, practically, you use it as just, that's past, this is now. Or future. Like, that's how you use it.
But then there are some scenes...
But then it contradicts that.
Yeah.
So you end up thinking, okay, so it's Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr. And that's functionally what it is.
Yeah.
But so is the idea that the twist is... we thought this was objective, but it's actually subjective. It's just from a different point of view.
Well, that's going to be my question. Do you think there's a deliberate irony in that presentation?
To an extent, because the film, because it doesn't end with the atomic bomb blast, which we'll come to.
Yeah.
It has to end with something, a crescendo, a climax, and that is the twist. That Robert Downey Jr. has been kind of orchestrating everything.
Yeah.
Which is, like, in a Usual Suspects way, is supposed to kind of taint your impression of the whole film, and it doesn't.
No.
At all, really. Because, I mean, I kind of inferred that. Do you know what I mean? I kind of knew...
It's clear they didn't like Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I know RDJ's up to no good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it's there as a twist. So maybe part of that twist is, I really thought he was telling the truth.
Yeah. Because the subjective stuff with Oppenheimer does hold some water. You've got moments, you've got flashes of...
You mean subjective?
Subjective, yeah sorry. You've got those random flashes of like the tension of the universe and like these random flashes of chaos.
Abstract reveries,
abstract, exactly. And then you've got more explicit kind of...
As it were. If you're going to speak about what I think you're going to speak about.
It depends, what do you think I'm going to speak about?
Florence Pugh fucking him on the chair.
Oh yeah, well that's pretty explicit. But that's weird because that's not Oppenheimer's perspective. That's the wife's perspective. Well. No, more explicit in the sense that it feels like we're actually being shown what Oppenheimer thinks happened rather than what actually happened.
Yeah.
Did you notice when Florence Pugh is killed in the bath or dies in the bath?
When she kills herself, yeah.
There's, from moments, you see like a black hand, like a rubber-gloved hand.
Like the Men in Black.
Yeah, like she was taken out.
Okay, that's fair.
But it's like a flash, and it's not in most of the scenes, so it's almost like Oppenheimer has decided, she was killed.
I think, yes, okay, there are moments... I think overall, it's a stretch. The whole film is objective. It really is. Like, other than those random, like you said, the kind of the particles clashing and colliding.
I think, because that's the thing, I don't even think that's to support the subjective objective thing. I think part of that is just to maintain the momentum of the film.
Yeah, but also if we're in his head, if he's the guy, then we're going to see what he is seeing, his hallucinations, his kind of intellectual seeing beyond normality, like LSD sort of thing.
Yeah. Hearing the music.
Hearing the
music.
The
film puts it.
Yeah. The problem with that is, I still, by the end, you never really feel like you know the guy. And there are some lines throughout the film that kind of, It's that Nolan thing of dual meaning, that it describes a scientific process, but it also applies to the characters. So he talks about, it's paradoxical, but it works.
Yeah.
And, the idea is like, what is he? He's kind of a contradiction. Problem is with Travis Bickle, even though there's some enigma and some mystery to him, when you're in his head, you know what he's thinking. You know that he thinks the black guys over there are intimidating.
Yeah.
You know that he's like zeroing in on this thing. You know he's obsessing over this thing. You don't with Oppenheimer. The whole film really is shot quite objectively.
Yeah.
So I think on that level it doesn't work. I mean, the black and white thing and the colour thing is fine because it delineates two periods of time. But as for the objective-subjective thing, I don't think that holds much water.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay.
Yeah, the abstract reverie stuff, they were fine for the most part, but it did push it too far with Florence Pugh riding him during his trial. Because it's Emily Blunt seeing it.
It's Emily Blunt seeing it, and they had a moment just before she's riding him that I think was fine. It was perfect.
He feels naked in front of them.
Yeah.
They're probing into his past
it
and his
pans
sexual
around
history.
Jason
Clark. Yeah.
Yeah, and suddenly he's not wearing any clothes anymore.
Yeah.
Which is the same visual that they use later on when he's in the hotel room with Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
And it's like they're being vulnerable. They're naked because they're vulnerable around each other.
Yes.
That's perfectly fine.
It's also inconsistent. It's too, generally speaking, it's too grounded in its presentation that when those things happen, they're fine, but they don't quite fit into the universe.
Well, that certainly doesn't. Like the bomb stuff, when he starts hallucinating, both at what's it called, Lasoka? Is that the name of the town?
Los Alamos.
Yeah. At Los Alamos, when he's giving the speech and he starts hallucinating about the bomb.
Yeah.
And then again in the hearing, when he's being put under pressure.
The white light.
And he's hallucinating the white light and the bomb. That makes sense because that's the trauma that he's carrying with him.
It makes sense after, yes.
Yeah.
Leading up to it. And him seeing, that's fine. I don't know. It just felt a bit like slightly stylistically clashing. But only a little bit.
Okay.
I am quibbling. I'll explain why I'm kind of complaining, if that's what you want to call it, critiquing as much as I am by the end. But yes, so back to Cillian Murphy and not getting a proper insight into Oppenheimer's mind. It does beg the question why it needed to be a 3-hour film. Because it's not necessarily a penetrating biopic. It's a thorough one.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. There's a lot of him, but you don't really get to know him. I know next to nothing about the life of Oppenheimer, right? But it feels like it gets all the facts, all the stuff in there.
Yeah.
The important stuff. It's the comprehensive Oppenheimer film.
Yeah.
It's not the one that you watch to get to really know the guy.
No.
It gets all the details, the times that, in a Nolan way.
It's the Oppenheimer, it's the definitive resource for when you're researching Oppenheimer.
Yes. It gets all the facts straight.
Yeah.
Downey Jr. is pretty good. He escapes his shtick. Escapes.
He felt different from
he does even
different. Outside of the Iron Man stuff. I'm thinking of the stuff he was doing before that.
Yeah.
It feels like he's doing something different to what
Iron Man, that's the thing. People think, Tony Stark, it's that. He was doing that way before Iron Man.
Yeah.
Iron Man is like that because Robert Downey Jr. is like that.
Yeah.
It's not quite the Oscar clincher, in my opinion, in the way that it's been talked about.
Downey Jr. Now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But he's better than usual.
Yeah.
Cillian
Murphy better than Doolittle.
Well, yes. Cillian Murphy is, I would say, guaranteed a nomination. Not a win, necessarily.
I'd be shocked if he doesn't get a nomination.
Yeah. The other highlights for me in the immense cast are David Krumholtz, who plays Isidore Rabbi, his Jewish friend, who's kind of with him throughout most of the film.
Oh,
the guy he meets on the train.
Yes, Clifford the Big Round Jew, as I've ended up calling him.
Oh, right. Why?
Because there's a point that I'm going to make about Oppenheimer where I kind of use him as an example. Okay. And I couldn't remember his name, so I had to give him a name.
Okay, his name is David Krumholtz.
Okay.
I liked him.
Not Clifford the Big Round Jew.
No, definitely not. Josh Hartnett, I thought was good. Because I haven't seen him in a long time, and it's like, oh no, what's this going to be like? And it was fine. Jason Clarke was good.
Yeah.
Matt Damon was very good. And Gary Oldman was very good.
Yeah, not enough Gary Oldman.
No, and Florence Pugh and Emily Blunt are in it as much as they need to be, really.
Yeah.
But for actors of their talent, it does feel like a bit of a waste.
I suppose.
They're really good. And they're really not in it that much. I think Blunt might get an Oscar nomination because it's the kind of role that gets an Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
But still.
She'll get a nomination and they'll play her deposition scene.
Yeah.
That's what they'll do.
A lot of returning faces for Nolan. his entourage.
No Michael Caine.
Sans Michael Caine,
yeah,
yes.
Interesting. I didn't even think of that until now.
Yeah. And I was worried that would be cheesy or distracting, because it can be sometimes. It's like Branagh as Niels Bohr, Tom Conti as Einstein particularly.
Yeah.
But it quite worked, I think. Especially Oldman. When I knew he was playing Truman, and before I turned up, I was like, oh god, it's because he's worked with Gary Oldman, and but he's doing something different. He is, like, as Truman, it feels different. Like, not just his manner and mode of speaking, but when Oppenheimer says, I've got blood on my hands, the way he kind of, like, waves a tissue at him.
Like
a hanky. Yeah, like, ooh, there you go then, like, mockingly.
Don't let that crybaby back you.
Yeah, he's great. It's one of the most scored films I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, is it too much?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad we've had that discussion.
Well, in many ways, the film is a symphony, right? And they, hear the music, all that kind of thing. But the central problem is that it fails to achieve a satisfying ebb and flow. The constant undercurrent means you never really relax into proceedings. Now, which may be the point.
Definitely within the first hour.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that is intentional. The first hour almost feels like trailer editing. Where it's like, here's the crux of a scene. Now we're on to the next scene.
Right. And no one does do that, but it tends to be between the set pieces, between the longer scenes. It's like, filling information bits.
Yeah. There's no set piece. Basically, there's a bomb.
Yeah, there's one, and that's it. That's really it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it might be the point that you never relax into it, but it's a lot to ask for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I didn't have an issue with the mixing, as some people have had. I feel I understood everything being said, but on the rewatch, subtitles definitely improve the experience.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. It's more a, not emotional, but attentional pacing problem, I would say. So, the film is an event, right? It's almost as though having a moment to breathe is failing to stand on ceremony.
Yeah.
And the more I think about it, its relentlessness is probably self-conscious. The whole marketing angle was the countdown, like going towards it. There's no time to waste smelling the roses.
Yeah.
But I would have liked some time to smell the roses. And I felt I never really got to like settle into it properly. And again, they would say, well, that's the point. It's all building towards this massive event. But, okay, so when the countdown hits 0, another problem is created beyond the inception of a whole new category of destruction.
Yeah.
The dramatic climax happens around 2/3 of the way into the film.
Well, it doesn't?
No, it does.
No, because the Robert Downey Jr.
Yes, but...
the Rami Malek deposition is the climax of the film.
The actual one, yes.
Yeah.
But the true dramatic climax happens 2/3. The most exciting dramatic climax.
I wouldn't... I think it's the dramatic climax that I got the problem with.
Okay.
Because the drama culminates... It does objectively culminate with Rami Malek.
Objectively it does.
Just the climax is...
Okay, let me rephrase. The climax the film is going for happens toward the end. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the what should be the dramatic climax...
What you will take away from the film.
And what I would argue should be the dramatic climax happens 2/3 of the way into the film. Yeah, it's not that there's...
Especially given that final line.
Yes, it's not there's an hour left and nothing happens. No, it does still build to an end.
Yeah.
But it happens around 2/3 of the way into the film as opposed to, say, 10 minutes before the end. The film runs along those two lines, like you said, and there's a lot of fusion to go after the bomb blows up. And as much as I like films about people in rooms talking intelligently, it's just nowhere near as captivating as the atomic bomb blast.
The fucking heart rate during that bomb sequence, like just the building up to it. Yeah.
The detonation is awesome.
Yeah.
It's like worth it. You know, like for all the films taken down to that moment, it's worth it. My heart was pounding. It's spectacular. And the film gets explosions right. Which is like, that's the one thing it needed to do right.
Definitely, yeah. It gets them right, but it finds a way to balance making it look cinematic and sort of portraying it in a way that...
The sound design is bad. It's weird. For all the complaints of the sound design, it really works in that scene.
Yeah.
Where there's no sound. It's just a...
Yeah, you just hear them breathing.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, consequently, because of that timing structural problem, my conclusion is this would have worked best as a Chernobyl-like miniseries.
But wouldn't it have been the same problem where the bomb would have gone off in episode 4, and it's like, well, we got 2 episodes to go.
Well, I would say 5 episodes. Well, not necessarily. I mean, it again, you restructure the whole thing. You can do it so... They could have done it in this, where they happen kind of side by side.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of stuff to go after the war and everything.
Well, it's because, as you say, there's a lot of the trial and deposition stuff after the bomb.
Yeah.
And that's because at some point... At the beginning of the film, everything is kind of happening. It's alongside itself fairly comfortably.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough... We spend enough time with Oppenheimer, we spend enough time at the deposition, we spend enough time with the bomb, we spend enough time with Robert Downey Jr., and then at some point, it just becomes about the bomb.
That's the problem.
They forget about the trial stuff, and then they kind of do all of that
Oh,
after.
no, sorry, not the bomb. Yeah, no. Yeah, it's the problem that, we're so invested now, we don't want to cut away from the bomb. But then the problem is you're left with the more boring bit. And it's not boring, but it's more boring.
Well,
and
I don't think the problem is that it's boring. I think that it's less clear. It's less clear.
It's less clear where it's going. Yeah.
If you know anything about Oppenheimer, there's 2 things that anyone knows about Oppenheimer if they know Oppenheimer, and that is I Am Become Death, the Destroyer of Worlds, and that he built the atomic bomb.
Yes.
So when we're on the bit of the film that's about the atomic bomb, we don't need it explained to us.
Right.
We know where this is going. We know kind of what to expect. We know the danger. We know the thrust. We know everything, really. But the trial and deposition stuff, by design, is kind of cloaked in ambiguity.
Yeah.
So when the film just becomes about that, you end up going, okay, I suddenly don't know what to care about and what I'm supposed to think.
Right. So it's all that is about him, whether he gets his security clearance renewed, right? Okay.
Because they can't martyr him by giving him a trial, so they're kind of taking away the only power they can.
They're cutting him out of the conversation about the hydrogen bomb.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Okay, but the stakes are, if Nazis build a bomb first, it's all over, right?
Yeah.
So we need to build it first. He says, like, I don't know that we'll be responsible, but I know that they won't.
Yeah.
So it's a racing against the clock to build the bomb. Sees it, oh my god, what the fuck have I done? Is this necessary? Who knows? Philosophical implications. Big stuff. Who gives a shit about whether he gets a security clearance renewed? I'm not saying it's like completely uninteresting, but it's not. You don't follow up the atomic bomb stuff with that. The stakes couldn't be higher. Matt Damon says the most fucking important thing to ever fucking happen.
Yeah.
Whether he gets a security clearance renewed isn't. And if you're doing a biopic, it should be in there. Don't get me wrong. But then you either marshal it so that, like you said, it's a lot more balanced toward the end of the film, or like with the Chernobyl thing. Look, the most exciting thing of Chernobyl happens in the first episode.
Yeah.
That's, the final episode is, what was their cover-up? Like, what happened here?
Yeah.
Is he going to tell the world the truth? And it works because it's television. And you get a break, and then you see, and you thematically pay off a lot of stuff. You can do that with this. It doesn't have to end with a bomb. But if I was doing a film, I would basically cut the post-war years for a film about the creation of the atomic bomb.
The thing is, while I don't deny that this is a film with 2 parts, and the bomb definitively draws one of those parts to a close, yes, like, on a practical level, the thing that we're being asked to invest in is, does Oppenheimer get his security clearance? Well, no, actually, it's not that. It's is he a traitor?
Yeah.
That's really how they frame the deposition.
Yes.
Is, are you actually a communist? Did you give away state secrets? Right. Are you going to jail, basically?
Yeah.
And then to the side of that is, do you get your security clearance back? But really, it's not... Like, it's not about... Like, what it's actually doing is it's showing that Oppenheimer is kind of allowing himself to be dragged through the mud because of the guilt of building the bomb. Well, because Emily Blunt is constantly like, why don't you fight? And he doesn't.
Yeah.
And at the end, she's like, do you really think that letting them tar and feather you like this is going to... will make people forgive you?
Yeah.
So it does follow it up. Thematically, it is a follow-up.
No, I know that. Don't get me... It's just... Are you going to rewatch it?
Yeah, probably.
Are you going to rewatch it after the atomic bomb blast?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know that I would. And again, I love people in rooms talking.
Yeah.
It's just... Again, I don't want to sound like a Luddite, like, it's boring.
I'll confess that I would watch it past the bomb sequence to see if...
Okay.
To see if it does hold up.
If it does hold up.
Yeah. More so than, the most exciting part of the film hasn't just happened, I'm going to keep going with it.
Yeah. I don't think anyone would argue that that's the most exciting, best part of the film.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't deal with any of the aftermath. You have to deal with the aftermath. It's not bomb blows up, cut to black. You deal with the implications of it. Some of the... So what I personally would have done, just off the top of my head...
Yeah.
You have the bomb blast. You have the victory speech where, like, he starts hallucinating the burning flesh and the corpses and people are throwing up outside. He meets the president. The president calls him a crybaby. And then you can draw into a close, basically. And I like the thing... Because again, in a larger sense, about him, whether he's a traitor or not, it's about reputation and legacy. Like, what will this man's legacy be?
Yeah.
Reputational management, like... And Einstein says to him when one of their conversations at the lake, at the pond, he says to him, when this is all done, they'll give you medals, they'll give you this, but it won't be for you, it'll be for them, and all that kind of stuff. You can deal with that stuff. There's just too much of it after the most exciting bit of the film.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I do like, though, just to mention that scene for a moment. The one where, like, he sees the burning flesh and the wake of the bomb with the crowd and everything. Apart from that one, there's two explicit moments. There's a moment where the sound drops out and you hear that scream for a moment. There's the moment where you see the woman's flesh burn away and he stands, like, his foot goes through, like, a body. Other than that, all of the other visuals we see that are supposed to be, like, incongruous and kind of horrible... could actually be happening.
Well, that was unclear to me. The guy throwing up, I took that to be real.
Well, that's what I like about it. Because you see a woman crying in the crowd, and it's like, well, okay, a woman could realistically be crying because she's realised, like, the gravity of what they've done. You've got a couple making out under the bleachers, which I took to mean, like...
Are they making out, or is he comforting her?
Oh, I thought they were making out. Because my instinct was, you know, that kind of thing, like, oh, in a burning plane... Some people say that, like, oh, you know, if you're in a crashing plane, you just want to grab the nearest person to just fuck. Because it's your last chance. I thought it was like that kind of instinct. It's like, oh, the world's ending, let's just get it out of our system.
I mean, my memory...
But it could just because it's a party, you know?
My memory of that is that a woman was crying and a guy was comforting her.
Okay, I thought they were making out.
We could be, well, George, what does that say, mate? So, I don't know. Like, I don't know what is the truth of that.
And also, as you say, the guy vomiting outside. Again, it could just because they're celebrating they had too much booze.
It could be. I took it... My interpretation is that obviously the out there stuff is a hallucination, but the stuff like the woman crying, the guy throwing up, is real, but only he's noticing it. Yeah. They're like the cracks in the...
Exactly, know.
So like we said, the distinction between fission and fusion is the idea one is subjective, one is objective. But another issue with the pace and the unrelenting score is the film always remains objective about the fact that this man is on a tram line to the atomic bomb, to profound infamy and profound achievement. He doesn't know that, but the film always does.
Yeah.
That's a problem, especially if you're saying that we're in his head.
Yeah.
In his head, okay, like I feel like I'm meant for greatness or whatever. But that's usually a problem with biopics. It's like everyone kind of knows that this person's going to go on to be, you know, Ray Charles or President Lincoln or whatever.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know that. But the whole film knows it, you know? So it's harder to argue the subjective-objective case. This is a good film.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I am just explaining why I think it's not a masterpiece.
Okay.
A lot of people have called it a masterpiece. It's not a masterpiece. It's a good film. It's a very good film with elements of greatness about it. But it's not a masterpiece. But it's a lot easier to enjoy when you don't need to pee.
I said
my final takeaway.
I'm glad that you and I have had the same experience in the cinema now, which is we've both needed to pee an hour into a 3-hour Nolan film.
Yes.
And have just stuck it out.
Yeah.
Despite all the signs saying we shouldn't.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like for all of your complaints about like the deposition stuff being less interesting than the bomb, you stayed.
But not because it was holding my attention. I could barely pay attention. I had to focus on my bladder. Not.
Right.
It was more just get through it. Like you've got to talk about this afterwards. Get through it.
Okay.
The rewatch was much more for the deposition. It was like, okay, right, what happened there? Like, what was going on? There were points, and like I said, because I watched it at home and I could stop it and I had subtitles, it was a lot more relaxing experience. But when I was watching it in the cinema, because of that, there were points where I kind of fell off the wagon. And Casey Affleck to me is his little sequence. That was like, you're losing me. I'm starting losing interest now.
There were definitely moments where, you just kind of find yourself adrift in everything that's happening because there's so much.
There's a
happening.
lot. That's what I mean. It's a thorough biopic. There's a lot of information.
It would be optimistic to say that I probably picked up like half of what was happening.
Yeah.
Across the entire film.
Oh, names. Like, there's a bit at the end where they talk about the fallout, as it were, afterwards. And, you know, like, oh, this happened to Oppenheimer. This happened to this scientist. This happened to that scientist. I'm like, who?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that guy. I get. Yeah.
Well, this is where Clifford the Big Brown Jew comes in.
Sure.
Because this is the example I was going to give. Is, like, just outside of just, like, the amount of shit being thrown at you. He meets him, befriends him on the train, and then he's like, there's this German that you've got to seek out. And he's like, yes, Heisenberg, I know.
Yeah.
They go to a Heisenberg lecture. They shake hands with Heisenberg. Heisenberg finds out that Oppenheimer has published a paper that's based on his findings. And he's like, we should publish together.
Yeah.
And Oppenheimer's like, no, I must go back to America.
Yes.
And they never meet again.
He's invoked again, but they never meet
again. He's invoked again, but never meet again.
No, they never meet again.
And it's like, all right, was that important?
It's because it's in the book, you know? Prometheus is the book. American Prometheus. That's based on.
I don't...
That's what I mean. Like, because he wanted to get it right, and I commend that. Like, all the scientists, you feel like they're all represented. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's only one composite character or one, you know, fictitious character, and that's Alden Ehrenreich. You know, the Robert Downey Jr.'s aide.
Yes.
That kind of is with him and then turns on him. You know, he's kind of meant to be the audience, but everyone else is, you know, real Teller and Fermi and all the scientists, and it's like I get it. And especially because they're all, like, I've heard the names of these scientists and I don't know much about them. So that you want to put them in the film. But you could have done some condensation.
Yeah.
You know? Like, give us 4 or 5. And I'll get it that it's a massive fucking, you know, operation. His brother's in it. Like, do you even remember that much, you know? His brother's in it. He's dating a girl he doesn't really like. And then he marries her and he's like, okay. And he wants him to come to Los Alamos and he doesn't come. And then he does. And, like, it's because Oppenheimer had a brother.
Yeah.
So they had to put it in, but it's not relevant. It's to be thorough.
Yeah.
And I get it. Even though the film pulses with that detached intellect that Nolan brings to bear on projects.
Pulses with detachment.
Yeah.
I like that.
A focus on concepts as opposed to characters, like you've said. The dialogue is an improvement over a lot of what he's done. It's very well written. Although the characters do talk a lot of the time like they're vehicles for biographical exposition. Like they're aware they're in a biopic. So like Emily Blunt, when she meets him, she talks about her husband and he's like, I'm going to invite him to Los Alamos. You both you. She's like, yeah, because you know it doesn't make a difference. Then she shows him riding a horse and she gets off and literally it's great. It's almost like you can hear the writer discounting it as important information. He goes to her, so you've been married before twice. And he says, who? She says, the first one doesn't matter. But the second one
yes.
was this guy and then blah, blah. It's like they know kind of... It's hard to explain, but it's like getting the bullet points of a life kind of in there. But it's very good. It's very good.
Yeah.
But,
I wouldn't want to discourage anyone from going to see it. I'm glad it's done as well. It's nearly grossed nearly $1 billion.
Yeah, not as much as Barbie.
Are
we ready to do Barbie? Are we ready for Barbie?
I've actually been really looking forward to this Barbie review.
Why? What do you think is going to happen?
I think you're going to be fun on this one.
Well, you wanted to watch it with me, didn't you?
I did.
I understand now. I understand that now.
Yeah.
I watched it today.
Okay.
So it's
fresh.
But
I wasn't there. So
no. But it's fresh, you know?
Okay.
Explain Barbie.
No.
Have I got to do it all,
This is your treat to me. You explain Barbie.
Do you have an opinion on Barbie?
Yeah, I have opinions.
Okay, but we're going to wait.
I think I have opinions.
Yeah.
This is part of the problem. But go on.
All right, well, okay.
Barbie.
Barbie is set in Barbie land, where all the Barbies live.
Yes.
And Barbie's women run everything. President, Nobel Prize winners, the Kens are just kind of there, and they do their thing. They pine after the Barbies, and that's the dynamic.
Yeah.
And then one day, stereotypical Barbie, played by Margot Robbie, wakes up and starts having existential thoughts about death. And then the next day, she kind of like, something's off, and she's flat-footed all of a sudden, and all that kind of stuff. And then she meets a guru, lesbian, weird Barbie, who tells her that... I
don't think they ever make a point of her being lesbian.
No, she's not.
You've added that.
Not me. Everyone has added that.
Okay.
And that's clearly what I would say what it's meant, because Kate McKinnon's a lesbian.
Right.
There's a relationship between the real world and Barbies where the girls that play with them, when they develop anxieties or develop problems, it kind of infects the Barbies. So she says, you need to like go heal your kid. So Barbie has to leave Barbie Land and go to the real world. Ken tags along for the ride. When they get there, Ken sees that the real world is in fact a patriarchy, and he takes that... What?
You already look so bitter.
And he takes those lessons back into Barbie Land, where he and the other Kens kind of overthrow the Barbie matriarchy and install their own government, kind of. And then Barbie has to go back there with the girl that played with her and her daughter to reinstate the utopian vision. That's the plot.
Yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah.
The production design is tip-top.
It's they've really nailed the aesthetic of Barbie, just in general, really.
Yes.
Because the whole thing, like Barbie Land, it is based after the play sets. There's no real...
And so that's...
There's no desire to kind of make Barbie Land feel like a real place. It is just one big play set, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't call it innovative because, yes, they obviously are just basing it on the play set. But it does look good.
Yeah.
It's colourful and spunky and...
Yeah.
Anything else good?
Oh, come on.
What?
Yeah, give it some credit.
Dude, I went into this with an open mind because the world my other friend who liked it, was telling me that I was going to hate it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to prove you wrong.
Okay.
But I couldn't. And hate might be a strong word because I'm sorry, Jord, I don't feel that angry about a lot of it. I'm sorry.
Oh, we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes.
Because if there's anything that I've learned, like reviewing those Sonic films, is you can start out calm, but you will get angrier as you go.
Okay. So from the off, its intentions are quite clear.
Okay.
It's too discursive. That's the first problem. So Helen Mirren narrates it, and she explains how, it's the 2001 Space Odyssey opening where the girls are playing with, like, old-fashioned dolls, then Barbie comes along and it revolutionizes dolls. And she says, oh, girls, they would play all day and they play mother. But that had its limits. Ask your mother. So that's the first thing. Like, right, it's really talking to the audience through, past the film.
Yeah.
The words feminism and equal rights pop up within the first 3.5 minutes.
Okay.
It will go over a lot of kids' heads.
Yeah, this isn't really a film for... It's not inappropriate for kids.
Some of it is, but mostly it's just, over their heads.
Yeah.
The ones that aren't getting the preparatory PowerPoint presentations and follow-up classes from their millennial mums. But it struck me as the equivalent of adult-leaning jokes in films like Shrek. It's not like when he says the donkey, maybe he's compensating for something, that kind of thing. We've gone from a ha-ha, nudge, wink to ideology.
Right, okay.
It's not for kids. The film is not for kids.
No.
They will like the colours, they will like the dance sequences, they will like some of the jokes, but it's not for kids. They will not understand the story.
No.
What the implications of the story are. The themes.
They won't understand the specifics of it.
No.
But Ken's evil now, he's taking over the kingdom.
Kind of.
They'll understand
They won't know why. They won't understand, like I said, the implications of it. They won't know the themes.
No, but they'll kind of understand it in the most basic sense.
Yes, in the most basic sense.
He's the bad guy, he's got to be stopped.
Yes, so they will enjoy the look of it.
Yeah.
And the singing and the funny stuff. It's a tamer version of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, where it looks like it's for kids.
Yeah.
But it's not. There are some good jokes. Her feet, that's a good joke.
I will say that about the film, that I did genuinely laugh, a couple of times.
Oh, I didn't laugh at all.
Oh, did you not laugh at all?
No, I didn't laugh at all. But I did think there were some good jokes.
Okay, I particularly enjoyed the Welllll joke. I don't know how you felt about that.
Yeah, well, Trump.
Yeah, well, of course it is.
That was a good joke.
Yeah, it's I just have... I need to get out before they figure out how to build it sideways.
Yes. No, that's
building this wall. It's because it does have those moments where it's just this out there.
It's stupid. What? It's silly. Yeah. No, it does have funny moments. The shower, thought that was funny.
Yeah.
No water comes out. Some nice cinematic nods. And we got Jaws, Space Odyssey, and they're on the level of the adults will get that, the Matrix stuff in Shrek, and when it starts about Proust and everything, you're like, oh fuck off. But that's okay. The rules of the universe.
Are we here already?
We're here already.
Okay, because this is a bugbear of mine as well.
Yeah. It's suggested early on that they are being manipulated physically, right?
Yeah.
So you put them wherever you want. So she's just glides from her roof to her car because that's where the kid has put her. That's what Helen Mirren says.
Yes.
Like, you can be moved wherever they want you to, and then she just goes, to her car. What happens if a kid throws a Barbie in a tantrum out a window? This is the beginning. This is the beginning of what we'll talk about.
This is scene one. I think its problems go way beyond that.
Yeah, but that gets the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So it's not the kind of question...
Because is the idea that, the Barbies are... Because they're not inhabiting the same space as the children. Nor are they inhabiting a space...
We never understand what they're inhabiting because someone tries to ask the question and it's rudely cut off.
Yeah.
And you don't find out.
I'm going to bring up the Lego movie, perhaps more than once.
It's the obvious corollary, yeah. It's the obvious comparison.
I mean, it not just because it's like a toy product film where the goal is ultimately to like sell you the thing. But the Lego movie has incredibly simple rules that it never breaks, other than one moment which you forgive because it's supposed to be...
You're allowed to break one rule.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be this magical kind of like it's the character's big moment.
Yes.
I don't know what the rules of Barbie are, but I know it's not following them.
But there aren't any.
Yeah.
There really aren't any.
The rules of the Lego movie are this. The entire thing, every character, every location physically exists in the child's basement.
Yes.
And every character occupies... One child. And every character that exists within that space is in the child's imagination. They're being... their words and their actions, everything is being motivated by the child.
Yes.
Once you're kind of outside of that, you cease to...
Nothing exists.
Nothing exists, yeah. Lego Movie 2 does break those rules a little bit, but that's the Lego Movie 2, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't exist, don't count.
But yeah, Barbie Land is not a physical space in reality. It is...
Or is it?
No, the film shows it as this kind of like...
Overlay.
No, it's not even an overlay. It kind of exists in tandem with reality. Like, you've got Barbie Land over here on the left, and you've got reality over here on the right. So they kind of exist alongside each other in, like, pocket dimensions or portal...
Other dimensions.
Or there's a portal you have to take between them or whatever.
There's a portal, yeah.
But yeah, when a child is, like, moving the Barbie, it's not as if they're moving the Barbie through Barbie Land. They're moving the Barbie through their own house.
Yeah.
So is the Barbie matching those movements?
Right.
In a different space, but in this space? Or...
Yes. Is it one child? Is it multiple children? She's stereotypical Barbie, Margot Robbie, but is she the only stereotypical Barbie?
Is it only one child playing with her, or are her actions motivated by, like, a conglomeration?
Is she the collective play of girls?
Every everywhere? Child that owns a version of her?
Yeah. Well, no. The film answers that. No.
Yeah.
But then it begs the question, is this the only Barbie Land? It is. We can infer that.
Yeah.
It's only the one Barbie Land. So there's only one stereotypical Barbie. But surely that implies that there have to be loads of stereotypical Barbies.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how is she stereotypical?
Exactly.
The only thing anything's stereotypical is that it's a type.
Is there someone playing with Ken? Is there a really misogynist guy playing with Ken?
Right, okay. So those kinds of questions, okay? They don't have answers.
No.
Right? They're not the kind of questions one should be asking. But if you're not going into it invested in the message, the inferred message already, the medium has to make sense.
When Barbie brings the woman that is playing with her back to Barbie Land, is someone playing with that woman?
Right, exactly. Right.
Like, the further you go into the film, the less sense it makes.
But that's the thing. Yes, none of that makes sense, like the interaction between real world and Barbie Land. But also, and this is a problem, because we'll get to it, okay?
Okay.
The parameters of their knowledge also make no fucking sense.
No.
So, they know about death.
Yeah.
They're aware of that, because when she brings it up, they're shocked.
Yeah.
It's not like, what's that? You know, she says something along the lines of, I'm stereotypical, so I don't form conjecture along causal lines. Where you're supposed to go, Barbie likes talking like, she's talking like that. She knows about context.
But that's the problem. It's funny because Barbie wouldn't talk like that.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't know what those things are.
Exactly.
But she does know what those things are because she just said it.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Yeah, she knows what that is.
Yeah.
She knows what context is.
Yeah.
She knows about genitalia.
Yes.
She knows...
And that it matters that she lacks it.
Yeah, because when she goes to the real world, she tells him, I don't have a vagina, he doesn't have a penis. So she knows what those things are.
And she knows that in the real world, people do have
those things.
And that it's an important distinction to make.
Yes. So she knows about sex.
Yeah.
She knows about fascism.
Yes.
The definition of fascism that no one knows, by the way. Everyone thinks fascism, they think Hitler.
Yeah.
She's going with Mussolini fascism.
Yeah.
About trains and all that kind of thing.
Which is funny.
It's funny... Yeah.
No. What's funny about it is that she's wrong. Because in Barbie Land, Barbies do control the flow of commerce and the railways and everything.
In Barbie,
they run everything.
Yeah. In fact, the Kens aren't even... Like, when they overthrow it, why do they have to... Like, they're writing a code of constitution of the government or whatever? Yeah. Why? They've overthrown the dictators. Why do they need a code? Anyway, she knows about fashion, but she's unfamiliar with the idea of being self-conscious.
Yes.
Because when she leaves, she's like, I'm like conscious, but like about myself?
Yeah.
Right. It is one of the most having its cake and eating it films that I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
It doesn't care about the rules. The boardroom scene where the guy's like, so is it like a parallel dimension? They go, yeah. And he offers two alternatives. They go, yeah, whatever. Yeah. It doesn't care about coherence. The film is just a vehicle for ideology. And it's so incoherent on a story level that it becomes propaganda. So, yeah, okay, the fact that, like, hang on, so is someone playing with them? Okay, whatever. Fine. Ignoring that, even what it's trying to say with its ideology doesn't make sense. Because the whole point is, when the Barbies have to reclaim Barbie Land from the Kens, they say, oh, we have to, reinstate our autonomy. They never had autonomy, did they? They're being played with. They don't have autonomy.
Well, yeah.
So what, do you know what I mean? Like, even for what it's trying to do, it makes no fucking sense.
No.
I think they came up with some ideas about, it's about the patriarchy, and the patriarchy will infect Barbie Land. That's the jumping off point.
Yeah.
But then when they actually start establishing the mythology, it is a constant contradiction. So, it's a matriarchy. The Kens are second-class citizens. And the film should have driven to the point of equality.
Yeah.
We share everything, right? It doesn't do that.
No, that's the thing. I think it does. I think it thinks it does.
No, it doesn't.
No, it thinks it does.
No, it gestures towards it with a snarkiness.
Yeah.
It says, oh, no, you can't be like on the Supreme Court, but you can be like a lower...
This is why I found so... Yeah, because she goes to California and immediately is bombarded with sexist
Give us a smile, and all that,
Yeah, tall glass of fucking whatever, all that kind of shit. She sees some builders, and she's like, yes, we need some feminine wisdom, because obviously she's naive and Barbie Land or whatever. Goes over to the builders, they do the whole thing. It's like, oh, you're fucking hot. I want to fuck you. And then she's immediately like, I get the sense that you're like flirting with me, or you can't have me because I don't have a vagina. Yes. And the sexist builders, the builders that the film has demonized and written off as sexist pigs, he just goes, that's okay.
Yeah.
When he's confronted with something that's like vaguely modern and, for lack of a better word, queer, he immediately accepts it.
Yeah.
When President Barbie is asked by one of the Kens if they could have just one Supreme Court justice, after she's just delivered a speech about, we can't go back to the way things were because it wasn't fair. We need to have an equal society. Weird Barbie, we now accept you as one of our own. As soon as the Ken is like, can one of the Kens please have a foothold in your government? She goes, no.
Yeah, she says, maybe like a low level kind of thing.
Yeah, she puts the Kens down there where they have no power.
Because the joke is it's analogous to the real world. Because I think Helen Mirren says, and in time, men will come to have the same position women have so it's a kind of snarky... no, it's not equal. They'll be second class.
But I don't like that because
obviously.
No, but not just beyond the fact that it's like, oh, well, you're a guy and and I know that people would say that like, oh, well, it's because women have no power in the real world. It's like, well, this was the film's chance to rise above that. This was the film's chance to present a society worth aspiring towards.
Well, okay,
and it didn't.
Yeah, I'm trying to like marshal because I've got a lot here. The reason that people thought I wouldn't like this film is because it criticized the patriarchy and stuff like that. Like, oh, you don't think it exists, so blah, blah. That's not my problem with the film. It's that it does it so poorly, and by kind of setting up alternatives to it, that it's... Right. I don't know whether they wrap themselves up in knots trying to figure out how to do this right. Because what you end up with, and I mean this... There is only one conclusion you can get to be ideologically consistent and support what this film says. And that's women are just better.
Right. That
is, when you really like try and unwrap it all, the only way you can be okay with everything that happens is women are just better. And I'll try and get to that a little bit more. So it has a transparency of purpose. So one of them says earlier on, I can hold both emotion and logic, and it doesn't diminish my powers. It expands them, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, all of the Barbies are really unlikable.
Yeah, the whole tone.
And bitchy and, like, self-absorbed.
This new way of speaking. That's my problem with it. It's that nouveau lingua of like being self-aware and saying those things.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that Barbie is saying that, like, how? But ignoring that.
Yeah.
What is this world? And then there's stuff like the doctor said, in the time it took for me to finish that sentence, you healed. Haha, you know, I don't have anything big planned, just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and a bespoke song. I don't even have context for this, but my feet are on the ground. Now, I was going to list the most salient examples of those kinds of lines.
Okay.
But after the last line that I just recited, pretty much every line is that.
Oh, right.
And I mean every line is that. Self-aware, knowing. It's just a slightly more upscale version of the type of American humor we hate.
Well, that's why I thought you would hate it. Like,
Yeah.
Not just from an ideological perspective.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of... This film has a lot of nasty habits in general, but it, like, plays them up to the extreme. As you said, it's the most have your cake and eat it.
Yeah.
It's the most self-aware film I've seen in a while. It's the most, like, flippant in some regards.
Yeah.
Flippant in terms of its own, like... If it can't find its way around something, it just, like, bats it away.
Well, that's what I mean by have your cake and eat it. Like, if the rules don't quite make sense for the point they're trying to make, they just won't, they'll ignore the rule.
Because it's funny.
Exactly. Like, and none of it matters. That's why, didn't someone say to you, you're overthinking it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To which I would say that, like, in a world where the Lego Movie exists, and films like the Lego Movie exists, I don't think that's a valid criticism anymore. Because we compliment those films when they do things like that. We compliment the Lego Movie for its consistency and in its simplicity. But no one has ever said, but you didn't need it.
Right,
it's not as if it's like it's put all this effort into getting this element right that doesn't elevate the film in any way. It's because it got it right that the Lego Movie is so fondly remembered.
Yes, but the people that are prone to like this, they will like it whatever, because it's criticizing the patriarchy. And again, that's not my problem with it. It really isn't. I've seen plenty of films about critiquing the patriarchy that I can have ideological disputes with, but I go, but at least, like, you know, if what you believe is real, then I'm with you, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, whereas in this film, it just doesn't make any sense because they have a patriarchy. It just happens to be women.
Yeah.
There's loads of problems like that where they just go, oh, fuck it. It don't matter. Like, the idea is patriarchy infects Barbie Land. And nothing else mattered. And that's why I mean it's propaganda, because they didn't feel the need to come up with a coherent story, coherent rules, a coherent mythology. It's just, oh, we have a point, and we're going to make the point. But because nothing makes sense, they defeat their own point. Because, again, like, oh, we're going to get our autonomy back. I thought you were played with. Like, what is this? The sadness of Ken when he says, every night is girls' night. You know, at the beginning, right? Yes. This is what I mean. I really don't think they knew what they were doing. Flip the genders. And I think that's the best thing I can say to anybody that loves this film. I don't want to convince you not to love it. Like, you know, it's not... and trust me, I would not waste my life overthinking Barbie.
No.
These are things that occurred to me as I watched it, okay? When people criticize Trump or criticize Obama, people will all say, well, flip it. What if it was Obama doing that? Would you criticize... You know, that kind of thing. Flip the genders. And they do that when he says every night is boys' night. If you're all about this film and what it's trying to say, maybe, you can't argue with him when he says every night is boys' night, because you go, well, yeah, fuck you. You know, every night was girls' night, now every night is boys' night.
Yeah.
You have to get to, and to be fair, she does say, oh, not every night has to be girls' night. Right, yeah, that, but wider. That should have been the conclusion.
Yeah.
Extrapolate that. And that's why I say the only way to truly get behind this film is just to think that women are better and men are lesser. I really think that. That's the only starting point where any of it can make sense.
I don't think there is. I don't think there is a clean conclusion that can be drawn.
It's not clean, but what I mean is because of this whole thing of the women run everything and then they want to get that back. And then when they do, the lesson isn't that we should share. It's like, not really. Yeah. Like, we'll still have all the power. If you're behind it, the only conclusion is that women are better then. Right? Like, what else can I take away from that?
But that's the thing. I think the film is so clumsy.
Yeah.
In its ideology, in its presentation of that, in the story that it's telling, in every way, really.
Yeah.
That you kind of could draw any conclusion you want from it and be right on some level. You have a lot of people say, obviously, like Ben Shapiro saying, like, "Oh, this is the most woke piece of shit I've ever seen."
I'm close to him. I'll be honest.
Yeah, you've got a lot of people saying that, like, oh no, the film is actually it's a total deconstruction of gender that's fair on both sides. I've seen people say that this is actually anti-woke because it's almost like a parody of like a woke. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Ryan Gosling has said that, but I think in jest. Or he didn't say it at all. Well, that's not true.
Okay. But that's my point. Is that all of those people? But there's enough evidence in this film that each of those people could point to.
But don't you think that? But there's not.
And be right.
Don't you think the people that say it's not woke at all are bending over backwards to try and like depoliticize it, or to, I don't know, overthink it? Yeah, they're overthinking it to kind of go. You know, obviously the liberal tendency is to over-intellectualize something. It's like sometimes things are simple. You have to bend over backwards to think that Barbie's an anti-woke movie. It is really not.
I think they just looked at the absurdity of it and took that at face value and just thought,
in what way though? Oh, I'm not going to argue with you because you didn't say it. But
no, I don't. No, but I'm at this point I'm imposing my assumption on their theory because I didn't see a lot of it.
Yeah.
But my assumption would be they saw how, like, the weird out there jokes and just the weird artifice of everything. Because that's the thing, like, it's not as if Barbie Land is this kind of kooky, crazy land and then the real world is this kind of gritty, like, The Shield-esque, like, presentation of reality.
Yeah.
Both realities are weird.
Yeah.
Both realities have this kind of heightened craziness to them.
Yeah.
So my assumption is that they just they thought, oh, this is taking the piss.
The thing is, the true enemy of the Barbies,
is Barbie itself.
No, it's the people that make the toy, and the girls playing with them. Right?
Okay.
They control everything they do. So if autonomy is what they want, they have to break out of the whole we're being played with thing.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, then you can argue, like, oh, you know, but the reason the doll exists is because of the patriarchy, even though a woman invented it, blah, 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 blah. Let's not go into all that. It's too much. But the purest form of this film is the Barbies become self-conscious, or a Barbie becomes self-conscious, realizes that their whole reality is manipulated, and have to go to the real world to sort that shit out. And then they come back, and hey, we don't have to be gorgeous and do, you know, turns out we can be whatever we want. That's the true... and I'm a man, but fuck you, feminist vision of this film.
Okay.
Men and women are equal, you know. In fact, it could have been one of the most woke and simultaneously actually liberal films we could all get behind if the point was women don't have to be these perfect Barbies. They can be whatever they want. And the Kens don't have to be second-class citizens. It turns out men and women are equal. They could have done both things, and like it would have been really good and effective. But they had to do the patriarchy thing. And that defeats everything else.
Yeah.
There is a version of this film that's good, and you can make it about feminism.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the thing. The patriarchy stuff definitely gets in the way of the whole film.
Yeah, it does. Because, again, weird Barbie, well, I suppose she's not lesbian, because she says, I'd like to see what kind of nude blob he's packing under those jeans.
Yeah.
Right? Flip it.
Yeah.
Flip it. So are we supposed to find that funny and laugh?
Yeah.
Right, then women are better.
Okay.
Because if someone said that to her in the real world, patriarchy. So what? Do you know what I mean? What are we trying to say here?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Did you at least like Ryan Gosling?
No.
Why did you not like Ryan Gosling?
I thought he was fine. He was not as good as I thought he would be.
Okay. I thought he was rather good.
Okay, I didn't dislike him. That's no. I'm calling the momentum on my hatred here. I thought he was fine. He's not the, again, shoo-in for an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, that did surprise me.
Yeah.
I think Margot Robbie is very well cast as Barbie.
Of course, yeah, she's good. They're both good.
Yeah.
They're both. I've got that point down. They are both good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Yeah, this is a Barbie film at the end of the day, where Barbie the film kind of forgets about Barbie after a while, I think.
Right.
Because there's that moment, isn't there, where like they're kind of resolving everything at the end of the film, and they're like, "Oh, look, the Kens are going to get an ounce of power.
Yeah.
The Barbies are going to get everything that they want. Nobel Prize Barbie's going to go here, blah, 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 blah. And then someone's like, Mattel are going to leave or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone's like, the daughter is actually like, well, what about Barbie? What's her prize at the end of all this?
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, the main character.
Yeah.
Like the film forgot about her. Because it feels like the Ken stuff completely takes over.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, that's what you want to make the film about. Because you want the film to be important.
Mm-hmm.
And you make it important by being about important things.
Yes.
Or what the culture says is important. But there's other ways they could have taken this, which don't necessarily... Like, Barbie's whole thing about, like, oh, I've got flat feet and I'm growing cellulite and I'm getting thoughts of existentialism. That could just have been an analogous of, like, growing up. It's like it's like they live in Barbie land and they're all children, basically, where they can do whatever they want and every day is the greatest day ever and blah, 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 blah. Stereotypical Barbie is the first one to show signs of, like, aging.
Or what if it's more like when a kid is getting to the end of the Barbie's life, not playing with it anymore, that's where thoughts of death start to creep in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and she's just the first Barbie that's broken out of the system.
Yeah, you pair the two up. It's like the kid's growing up, and so the Barbie she's playing with is kind of, it's imprinting on that doll.
It's like Inside Out kind of thing.
Yeah. And you still do the whole thing where she goes to, like, the real world and she tries to sort it out and everything, and Ken goes as well. But, like, Ken's whole thing could be that, like it's sort of like, right, like, Barbie Land is now going to have to grow up.
Yeah.
And the Kens are going to have to grow up. But the Kens don't want to grow up. They want to stay young and, like, and so maybe that's where Ken's whole, like, all his tantrums and misbehaviors come from.
Yeah.
It's like, no, Barbie, you can't make me... Like, rather than this whole, like, societal rift between the Barbies and the Kens, it's this kind of, like, playground mentality of, oh, girls are icky and boys are stupid. And so boys and girls stay separate. But as they grow up and the society kind of, like, evolves, it's like, oh, we have to come together.
But the actual film's doing the opposite. It's saying that atomized identity is the best way. So, like, yeah, you could do a thing where Ken, maybe his thing is because he's, a lifeguard, whatever the fuck he is.
He's Beach.
He's Beach, whatever. Yeah. He can do anything.
No, that's one of the best jokes in the film. I'll have you acknowledge it.
Well, the whole beach bit.
Yeah.
You think that's one of the best bits of the film? Well, I'll beat you off, that whole thing.
No. When he's talking to the lifeguard in real life, he's trying to get
fine.
a job.
Yeah, fine. All right.
Yeah.
I was gonna throw my bottle of beer at him. Again, kids, like, that's not for kids.
No.
Yeah, they go to the real, and because, like, he's amazing in Barbie Land. It's not about that he sees the men rule everything in the real. It's he can't do anything he wants to do.
Yeah.
Because he's not qualified to do anything.
Yeah.
He can't do,
Yeah.
And even if you wanted to stick with the whole, oh, Barbie and Ken, like, he's not entitled to her, she doesn't want him, whatever. You can still have that lesson learned. Like, that, I didn't have a problem with that so much. Like, she doesn't like Ken. That's never explained either, by the way, because Barbie does like Ken. But that's never...
Right.
No, like Barbie and Ken in the thing, you know. He loves her, but she's like, about him.
Yeah.
Because that's the way they wanted it. It doesn't actually make sense within the rules of the universe.
Yeah.
That's what the filmmakers wanted. So she doesn't like Ken, and then she's like, look, I just don't... And the whole, maybe it's supposed to be Barbie and Ken. Right. Okay, he goes out to find his own identity. If that's what you want to do, that's also not that bad. And I just want to be clear. My loathing for this film is not what it's saying, because it's saying something really poorly in a completely incoherent, incomprehensible way. And it doesn't care about the things it should care about. It just cares about the message. But the message, as a result, the message becomes confused. And again, the people that would think my problem with it, oh, it's anti-patriarchal. My problem is that it doesn't make any fucking sense, number one.
Yeah.
It's not feminist enough, actually. We'll get to that.
Okay.
So she says, when her feet... So she has, like, feet shaped like the heels, right? When she becomes flat-footed, oh, God, I would never wear heels if my feet were shaped this way. Ha ha, women wear heels. What about women that want to wear heels?
Yeah, okay.
In fact... A lot of the... I know, and people would say, oh, but that's a patriarchal imposition on women. But in fact, a lot of the group Barbie screenings involve dressing up in pink and wearing high heels. So what is that, irony?
Yeah, well, you've actually stumbled into another point that I wanted to make.
Right.
And that is that I think this film is clearly trying to do a lot of things. I think one thing that it's definitely doing, which I don't see many people bring up, actually, is it's doing a bit of house cleaning in regards to the Barbie brand. obviously it's presenting Barbie Land as this utopia where there's a version of Barbie for everyone. Yeah. There's a disabled Barbie and a fat Barbie and a bitch Barbie.
Very quickly, that's a point that it's not my point, it's Shapiro's point, but there is a trans Barbie in the film.
Yeah.
And you were talking about...
Was that a Ken?
No. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, you were talking about something earlier and about like a breakdown of gender or something like that. Yeah, that's it. It said, the film completely... It has no sense of gender. It breaks it all down. It doesn't. Because at the very end, she walks into the thing and says, I'm here to see my gynecologist.
Yes.
And it's like, no, it's saying that women have vaginas. That's not very progressive, is it? In the trans debate. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, get your fucking... Like, you have no idea what you think.
No.
Your worldview is so confused. It's ridiculous.
Well, it doesn't matter what you think. It matters what you say and what you present.
Yeah.
You want to show a utopian society where everyone is represented. You show everyone. It doesn't matter that they contradict each other and that they contradict your message.
Yeah.
I want to throw another spanner in the works as well in regards to how the fuck does the universe work.
Right.
Remember when Ken takes over the Barbie house and he turns it into Ken's massive gojo, whatever.
Yeah.
That becomes a product in the real world.
Does it?
Yeah. Because Will Ferrell is like traveling to Barbie Land.
Yeah.
And he's like, we've got to stop the Kens from taking over. And then he rings like a guy in a warehouse and he's like, hey, these Ken Mojo Dojo toys are flying out of the warehouse.
Yeah, Asim Chowdhury. That's right.
Yeah. And then Will Ferrell was like, oh, well, let's not be hasty. Let's let the Kens do their thing, you know? So
yeah, it makes...
What not only is like, does the people in the real world control the Barbies in Barbie Land?
Yeah.
But residents of Barbie Land have an influence over the real world because they can create products that exist in the real world. Does Mattel even have a manufacturing division?
Yeah.
Or is it just a bunch of guys playing with dolls that imagine play sets that become real?
That's the thing, it doesn't make sense. And a lot of that is like, oh, fuck it, kind of, if you're into it. But it becomes a problem when it's like, you start thinking about, right, so Barbie, stereotypical Barbie, is being played with one girl. Right. How does that work? What about all the other Barbie? And that's where it breaks down, because it just... You can't really go anywhere after that.
Also, isn't the implication that Weird Barbie was once a stereotypical Barbie?
But then got cut up. But the same girl, I think.
I don't know if it was the same girl. I think it was just like a random... But, they say, like, oh, she was the most beautiful Barbie ever, and then she was, like, fucked up by a child. Yeah. So that was a stereotypical Barbie?
Exactly. So...
But yeah, my point was going to be that, so you have a version of Barbie for everyone.
Yeah.
Including stereotypical Barbie. But what this film does, quite cunningly, is it retires stereotypical Barbie.
Yeah.
It writes her out of the canon.
Yes.
There is no stereotypical Barbie anymore. Mm-hmm. When you think of Barbie, you can no longer think of Margot Robbie, because that Barbie doesn't exist anymore.
She goes to the real world.
There is no stereotypical Barbie. Yeah. The Barbie that was responsible for all of the, like, feminism falling backwards 50 years, all that bullshit, that Barbie isn't real anymore. And
she's now entered the real world where Margot, because she looks like Margot Robbie, ticks all the boxes of the female beauty standards. You know.
But that's the thing. All of the young girls that owned a stereotypical Barbie, all the young girls that actually like stereotypical Barbie...
No girls actually like it.
No.
No, it's we've told them to like it.
Oh, right, my mistake. Sorry.
You make boys play with cars and you make girls play with Barbie.
Okay, so all of the women that actually like stereotypical Barbie, they're
deluded.
Right, okay.
This is what I mean actually about the film not being actually feminist. Because we'll come to that in a bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, we've solved Barbie. When you think of Barbie... Now you can just think of the Barbie that best represents you.
Think of the one in the wheelchair.
Yeah, think of the one in the wheelchair or the one that used to be a man.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what if I liked that Barbie?
Yeah.
Like, no one likes that Barbie.
You'd be ugly and weird.
That is now problematic Barbie.
Yes.
That Barbie's over there now.
So we had a friend that went to see it that wore massive high heels.
Yeah.
And again, like, I don't think for the purposes of irony.
No, because that's Barbie.
Yeah.
That's the problem, is that, like, Barbie... By writing stereotypical Barbie out of existence, Barbie now has no identity.
Yeah.
What is Barbie now?
Well, that's the point, I guess, right?
Yeah.
We're all of us Barbie.
We're all Barbie.
We're all Barbie, yeah. So again, is that irony or is it dressing up? Weird Barbie is the closest thing to the authorial voice. When Barbie chooses the blue pill, because she gives the choice, right, of high heels or... lesbian sandals. And she chooses to stay.
Yeah, the high heels.
she takes away the choice and makes her take the red pill. That's not feminist.
Yes, that's true. Barbie didn't consent.
Well, no, she chose. She made a choice.
Yeah.
And now you're imposing a choice on her. It's like, oh, you're meant to pick this one.
Yeah.
You're doing exactly what you would accuse the patriarchy of doing.
Hey, do you want to sleep with me? No. Guess again.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Guess again.
You kind of meant to say yes.
Yeah.
There's a sniffiness here about what a lot of women choose to do, and what's more controlling than that. You know, like, the film would argue that those aren't actual choices, but rules thrust upon women by the patriarchy, which is profoundly condescending. More than anything else.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not one of the... And again, when people make these arguments, they go, but you've got a stake in the game. Like, you would say that that's condescending. I don't give a fuck what you want to look like. I do not give a fucking fuck what you want to look like.
Do you really think...
I don't care.
Oh, yeah, the patriarchy's really working out for us.
I'm not saying there's not...
like, we're really benefiting from this.
Well, that's the thing. The film is not about... It's not critiquing us. It's not anti-male.
No.
Like, it's not...
Okay.
It's not anti-patriarchy. It's not anti-all men. It acts that way, but in effect, it's not. Because I don't recognise any of the... And I know, again, it has the heightened way of speaking, but when Ken says, like, he asked the guy about the patriarchy, he's like, oh, that doesn't exist here anymore. Well, it does. We're just quiet about it. What men talk like that?
Yeah.
I fill you in on something, gals. Men, and again, maybe, like, my bias is my friendship group, which isn't the most testosteronal guys in the world. But when we're all hanging out, we don't talk about, like, our advantages and our benefits and, like, how we're going to preserve the status quo.
That's the thing. The film doesn't even patriarchy right, because...
No.
Like, in that moment, Ken basically said, like, the secret code word.
Yeah.
And the guy still didn't give him a job.
Right.
If the patriarchy... If it was, like, proper patriarchying, Ken would have a job.
Yeah, just by being Ken.
Yeah, it's the whole, like, Hail Hydra thing.
Yes.
In, like, it's not as if you'd go Hail Hydra and the guy's like, that's all well and good, but fuck off.
But where's your CV?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, no. Oh, yeah, you're aware of the secret patriarchy thing? Yeah, please, come work for us, Ken.
And by the way, in real life, Mattel, the board, I think it's 5 women and 6 men.
Oh, is there?
So, there's that.
Yeah.
So the Barbies have no say over what they are, but they do. The Kens have no say over what they are, but they do. It's a matriarchy, but even so, that's considered anti-feminist in the real world because of the expectations that it's created for women. The Barbies earn nothing. Being President Barbie is because you're President Barbie. They have no agency.
Yeah, she was born into that.
Well, that's what I mean. The moment where, like, one of them's written a book and won the Nobel Prize for Literature, she forgets, right? And she says the whole Zack Snyder Justice League thing. So, I found myself really caring about Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League. Like, how do you even know about that? And secondly, you didn't write a book. You've been created to have written a book.
Yes.
You've never written a book.
No, that's very true. Yeah. She was born
to have written a book.
Pre-credentialed.
Yeah, exactly. They earn nothing, and it's the same with the Kens, right? But the Kens are second-class citizens in a world that's completely controlled until it isn't. But the Barbies do have autonomy that they have to reinstate. This is what I mean, like, whatever you're trying to say is just lost in that muddle.
Yeah.
But I think the people... It's more a vibe of what it's trying to say, and people respond to the vibe.
Yeah.
It kind of ends up at a place of equality, but with that snarkiness, like I said, it's not to be taken seriously.
But people are.
Well, because the film does. The film takes itself seriously. Again, with its message.
Yeah.
Little girls, not everyone, of course, that watch this will grow up and they will want to wear high heels and they will want to wear makeup.
And they will be wrong! That's according to this film.
Yeah, that's going to keep happening.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, the film doesn't, in effect, is not railing against men or the patriarchy because it is constructing straw men that is the patriarchy. What it's actually railing against is bros. That's what it's actually criticizing. And then there's that line where she says, either you're brainwashed or you're weird and ugly. There's no in between, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, you're either like part of the patriarchy and or you're weird and ugly. It's like there's no in between. Let me be earnest for a moment, right? Just for a second.
Okay.
I've known plenty of beautiful women that were exactly in between. That weren't brainwashed by the supposed patriarchy and that weren't, you know, weird and ugly and misunderstood. And most of womanhood exists somewhere between those places.
Right.
This is an Ivy League, coastal, artsy impression of where women stand in society. And young women are going to love it. I don't know about young girls, but young women certainly. But this is an ideologue's impression of womankind. And it happens to be a woman. Well, a woman and a man wrote it, but a woman directed it. It's her view of it. So yeah, again, I'm a fucking man saying this, but this film does not speak for all women. It speaks for Greta Gerwig. And like I said, in many ways, my problem is that it isn't feminist enough. America Ferrera's tirade, where she's like, oh, we've got to do this, but we can't do this. Yeah. We got to be this way. That's the author moment, right? That's the big speech. She even says, oh, I'm tired of watching myself and literally every other woman I know tie themselves in knots, like trying to be... I know a lot of women will agree with that. I know some will pretend to agree with it. I know some will want to agree with it. But it comes down to... The whole film comes down to this for me. Greta Gerwig, speak for yourself.
Okay.
That's what comes... Don't presume to speak on behalf of all womankind. That's what will piss me off the most. Like, it's not feminist. Not at all. It doesn't account for the choices that women make. To get married, to have kids, to do X, Y, Z. Fuck you. That's my takeaway. And I'm done.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to... Yeah, I want to end on that.
Okay.
I think that's a good place to end.
Okay.
I think that's a fair point to make as well. A fair place to end. Because, yeah, I feel like... I haven't heard that take much. No, so I want that to be the takeaway for most people.
Yeah, and I didn't read any reviews or watch anything before because I was like, I really want my own opinion. But that was the big thing. Is like I expected to roll my eyes at the patriarchy stuff and all that, but I knew that going in. It is more that it's more you're not speaking for all women. You're speaking for a certain for certain women.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but the ones that make other choices, that's their right as women, and, that's the feminist...
You're speaking for the loudest women. The women that are like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
the shrillest women.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, and again, like, yes, of course it's fucking hard being a woman, but I just felt when America Ferrera has that speech and says, oh, we can't be... We have to be feminine, but also this. I was like, do you think men, like, have exactly the same... We deal not with the exact same... problems.
No.
But we're torn between binaries all the time as well. It's the same for every person in the world. Oh, I've got to be strong, but I've got to be, vulnerable.
Yeah.
I've got to be this, I've got to be... God, it's a fucking mess for everybody.
Yeah.
So speak for yourself, Greta Gerwig.
Speak for your fucking self.
Thanks for listening. Yeah. See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.